We'll be live.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Look how excited everybody is in the
I
news in the
know,
live
it's
chat to
so
cover the
sweet.
news. Look at this. Ghost Bunny saying, "Let's go, mother effers. It's news time." Okay, and then who's look at this? I'm looking forward to this. Nobody gets this excited about the news. Music guy is confirming that the audio is good. Only our community is this excited about the news
Hmm.
because we make the news interesting.
True.
Oh,
Very true.
this.
And we have a lot of juicy news to cover this week. It's not
Oh,
necessarily all good news. Okay, let me be clear, but it will certainly be juicy to discuss.
yeah. Wait. So, do we have like horrible tragic news this week, or is it mostly okay?
I mean, we have one definitely tragic news, especially to our community in particular.
Okay. Okay.
But uh and some news is definitely like
All right.
yes
Let's
and
just go through it. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. With regards to the first news, can we clap for the first news?
yes, this is hilarious to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Good. First news.
First news, Ayatollah Khamenei's new fatwa. Fake likes and follows are banned. I love to cover a good fatwa. And so that's how we're starting off this week. Recently,
Oh my god.
Ali Khamenei, Iran's current supreme leader, issued a fatwa against quote unquote fake likes and followers on social media. His decision came after his followers posed questions at him through his website, where he often issues religious rulings. When asked what his ruling is on fake likes and followers on social media platforms, he said, quote, "It is not allowed if it is fake and made up. Shia Muslims are now explicitly banned from buying and selling online likes and followers, although, quote, bona fide ones, meaning authentic engagement, remains permissible." Ironically, according to Facebook's parent company Meta, fake accounts based in Iran that posed as Scottish and British locals who supported Scottish independence were removed earlier this year for inauthentic behavior. Ben Nemo, global threat intelligence lead for influence operations for Meta, said they have, quote, seen a range of operations coming from Iran over the last few years.
Yeah, I don't know how this works because he's saying fake likes and follows are not allowed, but Iran's intelligence agencies have a lot of operations, um, you know, with a lot of fake accounts. So we have had Iranian intelligence officers on camera on Iranian TV and other places, social media, bragging about the fact that they had accounts pretending to be the opposition, like the people who are against the regime, and they were bragging about the amount of likes that they were getting, the fact that they were so convincing that even some of the main people in the opposition, some of the really, you know, um, some of the bigger players or some of the active users on the opposition, the people the Islamic Republic people followed them. They were like, "Look how good we are! Our fake accounts are being followed by genuine people," and they were bragging about that. So I don't know. Um, wouldn't that like be against the orders of Khamenei because he's like anti fake likes and follows? Like, would
Okay,
they
well, here's the
continue
thing.
will they continue doing these operations? We go on.
It's about buying and selling fake likes and follows. That doesn't
Mm.
necessarily mean, creating completely false accounts and identities. That's kind
Right.
of
Okay.
different, right?
Okay. Okay. That actually is consistent. Okay. As much as ridiculous as this is, their logic might actually be consistent because the supreme leader before this guy, Khomeini, he specifically said spying is not necessarily spying is not bad. Spying is good if it's done against the enemies of an Islamic regime, right? So maybe if you create fake accounts, likes and follows and accounts for the sake of attacking the enemy or like doing spy operations or figuring out who the opposition is and like invest, basically for that, then that's allowed because that's like intelligence operations against the enemy. But if you're making fake accounts and likes and follows for commercial purposes, maybe he's against that specifically. What do you think?
Seemingly. So let me give you a little bit more context. This comes from IranWire.com. In answer, so Khamenei decreed, if it is real, it is not inherently wrong in cases when nothing corrupt is involved, but it is not allowed if it is fake and made up. The Supreme Leader then expressly banned Shia followers from buying and selling online likes and follows. Some bona fide ones remain permissible, but the subjective and highly flexible nature of the term corrupt in Persian left doubt in others.
This is fantastic. Okay, this is as vague as the Quran, right? So basically, the Quran, the Quran. This is how you get away with things. You make it seem like you're very clear about something, but then you use words that people could interpret in so many different ways, right? So, for example, the Quran says you need to crucify the people who are spreading corruption on earth, right? Like, okay, well. Where can you define corruption, please? Because this is very dangerous for the Quran to just put that out there, like crucify people who are spreading corruption. Like this could be used by anybody to mean anything, right? So I guess you're right. Like they are just like, oh, if it's corrupt, it's bad. Like, oh wow, thank you so much for the clarity there. Corruption bad. Thank you, Khamenei. I mean, technically, this is not nothing new. It's like saying like fake is bad if it's being used for something bad, but if it's being used for something good, then it's good. So bad is bad, good is good. Okay, great job. Thank you. We needed that, Khamenei. So essential. Your commentary is helpful, very helpful. Thank you.
So one thing I also thought was funny is that in this, ruling that he issued online, he had this question about the fake likes and follows, and then this is just like so on point. So elsewhere, Khamenei was asked a legal question about whether women could herself include a clause in a marriage contract allowing them to divorce their husbands if the man in question took another wife. Khamenei expressly rejected this.
Wait, say it again.
So it's saying if when entering into a marriage, there's a prenuptial part of the contract that says that a woman is allowed to issue divorce if the husband takes another wife. So is this form of a prenuptial contract permissible? And he expressly rejected this. Quote, giving the woman the right of divorce is invalid, he said, unless the woman is granted the power by the husband so that if he marries again, she can be granted a divorce on his behalf. In such case, it is invalid. Khamenei's that was it. So I was like, okay, well, that's on point.
Wait, just a reminder that we're monetized now on YouTube, and Secular Sekai just reminded everybody by giving us a $2 super chat, while at the same time giving $5 to our GoFundMe campaign, which is linked in the description. For people who don't know what our GoFundMe campaign is, we have a lot of Hindutva lawyers coming after us. The Indian court is after us.
We're going to be diving into that at the end of the show.
Yeah. So but we are trying to constantly defend ourselves against all these legal attacks, and that's why we have a legal fund. And Secular Sekai just used a super chat to tell us that he donated $5 to our GoFundMe campaign. Link to our GoFundMe legal campaign is in the description. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Sekai. That's so generous. I actually found the copy of the fatwa online. I just sent it to you on. I can't share it because my computer sharing screen is like messed up. But I sent it to you on Facebook if we want to take a look at what a fatwa looks like.
Oh wow! Okay, this is an official fatwa. Like this is not
apparently
something. Okay, hold on. Let me.
Right at the top, it says, from leader.ir.
Wow. Okay, this is.
Obviously, I can't read any of it, so I'm very curious about. Maybe you can give us a very brief summary.
It's not even letting me. Oh, here. Download.
You're saying, yes, please share. This was my first time looking at
a fatwa?
At a fatwa.
Okay, got it. It's a PDF, so that's why I thought I was confused. Here.
Devout Atheist Sean is saying, oh, damn, y'all getting sued? Not exactly sued. It's a long story, so make sure to stay tuned to the end. Because we have a lot to unpack.
Okay. Here's the fatwa. All right. So this is what the fatwa looks like in the modern days. Is this actually a fatwa? Hold on. Let me zoom out a little bit. اسفن حق طلاق. Okay, دفتر مقام معظم رهبری. So it says the office of the supreme leader, Sayyid Ali Khamenei. Oh my God! Look how seriously they take themselves. They put Khamenei's name in the same way that they show like the names of the 12 imams and stuff, and
Oh
they
my
have
God.
something. It's some sort of a blessing at the end of it, kind of like you have at the end of the name of imams or the prophet. Like these people
Oh
are
my
taking
God.
themselves so seriously.
The shirk of it all.
By the way, the design of this is so basic. Like, do they not have a Canva? Like, does the supreme leader not have a Canva account? Like, or a photo? Like, seriously, like, I could hire me Khamenei. I could do a better
Yeah, we
job
need
than
to make the fatwas look a little bit more, sexy. Give them a facelift.
It doesn't say fatwa anywhere. It just says like question 1, and
A
then
ruling.
no, it's just question 1, and the one is in English rather than in Persian, so that's like haram, I guess. And then there's the question, and here's the answer, and then you have the question 2 and the answer. See, why are the numbers in English rather than Persian? This is not good. All right. I've never seen anything so like if I provided a report like this back in university in Iran, this would be like, I don't know, this is so basic. Like, come on, guys, like put some effort into making this look good. Like you're the supreme.
Armin, give it a grade. What would you rate this? Like a C minus?
For design wise, or like,
or would you just give it a failing, just an F?
Yeah, I would just give it a failing, obviously.
Damn.
Yeah.
You heard that, Khamenei?
Yeah. So what is this? I mean, you're just like, you act like this. You're the God's representative on Earth, and you can't even like make this look a little bit more. I don't know. It just looks so basic. Not even effort. Like zero effort. Okay. All right.
Man, calling the supreme leader basic? Ouch.
Yeah. Bread of Life is saying Armin is going to get a fatwa out on him for that comment. It's interesting how ever since Khomeini used a fatwa against Salman Rushdie, people associate fatwas with, like, it's good. I like it that people think associate fatwa with just like
death.
Yeah, death. Because fatwas could be anything. You could have a fatwa on how to wipe your butt in the toilet, right? You can have a fatwa on anything. Yeah. Wait, by the way,
music guy says my elementary school certificate looks more professional than that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh my gosh.
The formatting sucks. Yeah. All right, so let's go to the next news. Can we clap for the next news?
Let's clap for the next news, even though it's not something we support.
Okay, next news.
Next news. South African threatened with being fired for posting Happy Atheist Day. Recently, a South African posted on the Reddit forum r/atheism that they were threatened with termination of their employment for, quote, being openly atheist. The threat came after the person shared a Happy Atheist Day picture on their WhatsApp status, which they believed to be only viewable to friends and family. I was forced to remove the status. I now have a consultation with our Christian and offended HR lady on Friday, the post said. I need to be prepared for this. Although the post has since been deleted and the individual who posted it was using a throwaway account, the comments on the original post in r/atheism are still available for viewing. One Redditor quickly advised the original poster to, quote, make sure to get it in writing so you can sue them. At the same time, others recommended referring to existing laws in South Africa for legal remedies. In their official statement, the Atheist Republic Cape Town consulate said that they are, quote, outraged at the blatant case of discrimination in our backyard. AR Cape Town consulate also reminded everyone through their statement that South Africa's constitution, quote, guarantees all citizens the right to freedom of and freedom from religion. Quote, the veiled threat of job loss for failing to conform to dogma is unacceptable, they added.
Okay, so instead of saying AR consulate, say Atheist Republic consulate, because a lot of people might not know what you're referring to. But yeah, this is why we need Atheist Day, by the way. This is the whole point of somebody said Happy Atheist Day, and they're demonstrating the point of Atheist Day is to normalize atheism because of this. So these people are demonstrating how important it is for us to normalize atheism on Atheist Day. God damn it! Like, this person is like, for your atheism, you're at a threat. You know, we were going to threaten you with losing your job. And Happy Atheist Day, by the way. Here's your gift. So ridiculous. Is that even allowed in South Africa to do something like this?
No,
Like, you
that's
should be able to.
unconstitutional. That's job discrimination.
Unbelievable. So is this person going to be able to get this in writing? We need, you can't just go by hearsay. Like, they need evidence to be able to sue this, right? To make it legal.
Yeah, I mean, it's so what happened was that this post was posted on r/atheism, and it actually made the news in some news sites in South Africa. And Dean Kruger, the leader of our Atheist Republic Cape Town consulate, is actually the one who brought this to my attention and sent it to me. And I was outraged. I was like, we have to cover this. The person who made the original post on r/atheism deleted the post. But we found, we're very good investigators. We found it all archived on the web archive. And you can still see all the comments on the original post, which I put in the Google Doc if you want to show it. But our writer found the original account of who posted this and tried to contact this account for comment or to find an update of what happened. And then no one responded. So we're not sure what the update of this situation is. But it just goes to show that there are still major consequences for people being openly atheist, even in countries that guarantee the rights to, be an open apostate.
Insane. That's insane. God damn it. Like, the South Africa is not even one of those uber religious countries. And this is what you get. Imagine what it's like in more religious countries.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
South Africa is, yeah. So, should we be showing
so
the Reddit
mild too?
Yeah,
just saying Happy Atheist Day isn't in any way taking a shot or what can be perceived as taking a shot at another religion. It's just acknowledging atheism.
Yeah, it's not even an attack. It's not even
over it and forced to delete it on their personal social medias.
It's so, very good points. Not your personal account is being monitored by your employer, and you're not even attacking any religions. You're just saying Happy Atheist Day. Just Happy Atheist Day. And you're like, oh, that's not allowed. Does anything show you that how this is such a great indication of how our mere existence, just the mention, not even our existence, the mention of our existence can get you in trouble. Can you think of any other demographic group of people that this is their mere existence is considered this toxic? I'm pretty sure in South Africa, you're not going to get in trouble for saying, I don't know, Happy Ramadan or Merry Christmas or I don't know, Happy Hanukkah or anything, or Happy Diwali, anything, none of this nobody would even think about threatening you or making you lose your job. And even if that happens, the reaction would be huge, right? Imagine if somebody was getting fired, I don't know, in the US or in South Africa for being Muslim. I mean, there would be an outcry, and rightfully so. I'm not saying there shouldn't be, But when it's because of somebody being an atheist, like nobody, not that many people give a crap, right? This is why Atheist Republic is such an important, organization, because we're trying to fill that gap. Like we are the hope. That's one reason why we started Atheist Day, because when you discriminate against Jewish people, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, there's a backlash. There's a cost associated with that. I don't say it doesn't happen. It happens, but there's a community of people who come out and say like, hey, that's not okay. But when it comes to discrimination against atheists, the backlash is not there. So the reason why so many people feel free to do that is because there's not that much cost associated with being anti-atheist, with discriminating against atheists. And what Atheist Republic is trying to do is to make sure there is a backlash, that there is a cost associated with this. So yeah, that we're trying to fill in that gap, that and we're far behind. Which reminds me, guys, please like this video and support our channel, share our content. So because we are at the front of Atheist Republic. Like look how small Atheist Republic is compared to all these other movements and groups of people who are defending each other. And also remember that we are the biggest atheist group there is, right? So we need to become a lot more we need to be a lot bigger. We need to become a lot more relevant, and we need your help doing that, okay? Because we are one of the only organizations that are amplifying the voices of atheists. And also, like, where do you see this being highlighted, on what other YouTube channel, how many other media is covering this, right? So please make sure you like this video, share this video, and promote our channel, promote our accounts, so that there is a voice for atheists out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would also encourage people to subscribe to the Atheist Republic Cape Town consulate, speaking of South African atheists, because it's led by Dean, the leader of our Atheist Republic Cape Town consulate. He started a channel and not only focuses on atheist issues in South Africa, but really highlights atheism and non-belief in Africa altogether. Really incredible channel, does really good programming. So you can either subscribe by following the link that I just put in the live chat, or just in YouTube search for Atheist Republic Cape Town, and you should find that channel right away. D is making the very good point that it's actually Satanists would likely find the same outrage or potential discrimination in the workplace. And I think that's probably true. Talking about,
well, I didn't say that it doesn't exist. I just said that how many other, like, but I was suggesting is like there's few other, but yes, that's good point.
Yeah. And Devout Atheist Sean is saying on Twitch, that's a good reminder, guys, go follow us on Twitch. Saying all we really have is each other. And for the most part, I would agree with you and say that that's true. However, I should highlight the fact that the Bread of Life, who's a Christian supporter of this channel, just gave us $10 saying to help you in your efforts toward free speech and freedom of religion and non-religion. So we actually do have a lot of religious supporters or allies, which is like super appreciated. And thank you for your $10, Bread of Life.
We have Muslims who support us, we have Christians who support us, we have Hindus who support us, we have Jewish people who support us, and they don't make their support a conditional on us not criticizing their religion, right? Which is very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat, Bread of Love. I hope you're rich, because you're giving us so many super chats. You shouldn't be supporting us this much unless you're rich. But thank you for that.
Music Guy is saying, I'm glad South Africa has an Atheist Republic channel. Me too. Guys, make sure to go check it out. And Alif Mohammed is saying, was it dangerous to post something like Happy International Women's Day in Iran? I ask because I wonder if the mention of feminism triggers something similar with some Muslims. Armin, what do you think?
No, Iran has its own official Women's Day, but they don't recognize International Women's Day. They have their own Women's Day, which I think is the birthday of Fatima, which is Muhammad's daughter. So they do have their Women's Day there. So, I mean, no, wait a minute. That's Mother's Day. Never mind. Which is the same. And by the way, they consider the same thing, because all women are supposed to be mothers at some point. That's the role of a... Yeah. Mother. That's the role. A role of a woman is to be a mother. No, never
Well,
mind. They don't
weren't
have
you
a
telling
Women's Day.
me that
They have a
in
Mother's Day.
Farsi,
Never. Yeah.
in
Go on.
Farsi, the word for woman and the word for wife is the same because
Yeah,
they're
you say
equivalent.
Zenem. You say Shoharaman, which is my husband. When you say Zeneman, which is my wife, but Zen also means woman. So basically, it kind of suggests that like a woman is supposed to be a wife. Anyways, I don't know. I don't know if that's the reason, but it's very interesting that the name for woman and wife are the same thing. We also have another
Mhm.
Twitch comment.
Yeah, so Forever Stormy is asking, how does one set up an Atheist Republic consulate? Well, Stormy, I believe you are based in India, so we actually have over somewhere from 14 to 18 different consulates already in India. But the problem is that because of the Sexy Kali controversy, we had to pull down the links to our Indian consulates from public viewing because people were receiving death threats and getting their accounts mass reported and banned. So if you are in India and would like to be connected to the Atheist Republic community in India, which is one of the largest in the world in terms of our community, please email me at Susanna, which is Susanna at atheistrepublic.com, and I can personally get you hooked up to the community. Or if you're not in India and you haven't seen a consulate in your city, you can find all of them at atheistrepublic.com/consulates. On that URL, there should be a form where you can submit to set up a new consulate. So let me know if you want to get hooked up in India, reach out to me. If you're not in India and you can't find what you're looking for, also reach out to me.
Adam Rickster is saying, do we have Iranians who supporting us? That's the big question.
What?
I don't. We have the entire channel of. We have Atheist Republic Persian channel. We have shows in Persian. So we have that channel is growing fast, and we're becoming more and more relevant in the atheist scene in Iran because of the channel. By the way, if in a few hours, I have a live stream in Persian with 3 other major Iranian atheists. This is like it's supposed to be 4 of the biggest Iranian atheists. So I'm so amazed to be included
The
in this
stream is
panel.
even titled The 4 Horsemen of Iranian Atheism.
Yeah, that's how it's being referred to. But yeah. So that stream is coming out. That stream is going to be in Persian. Is happening in a few hours. Yeah. So Atheist Republic is like very big in the Iranian community. Okay. So
Yeah, I
and
had that big
growing.
reaction saying what because it's huge,
Yes.
huge in the Iranian atheist scene.
Atheist Republic is big in Iran, in Philippines, in India. These are like we're everywhere,
Malaysia, but those are
Malaysia.
our top
These
3.
are some major places that we're active at. Yeah.
Um,
Okay, cool.
Oh, and very quickly, Bread of Life are saying, what do the consulates do? So the consulates are for people who want to find atheists in their local community. Because for a lot of people, having an online community isn't enough. The value and support that they get from an in-person community really brings a lot of benefit to their lives, especially if they've been dealing with social or familial rejection. So check it out, atheistrepublic.com/consulates. Hey, and Music Guy just posted it in the live chat. Thank you, Music Guy.
Yeah. Okay, so can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can.
Next news.
Next news. The Jewish journalist who infiltrated Iran. Atheist Republic interviews. Iran is shaken by a scandal involving a Jewish journalist who had an interview with then presidential candidate Ibrahim Raisi. According to an article published by Iran International, Catherine Shakdam, a French Jewish writer and commentator, quote unquote, infiltrated Iran. In 2021, Shakdam published a story in the Times of Israel about her 2017 interview with the current president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi. At the time, Shakdam had converted to Shia Islam, and Raisi was running for the presidency in the previous election cycle, when she, quote, ended up where few Jews were ever allowed to enter. She explained that she was introduced to Raisi, quote, by one of the main propagandists of the Islamic Revolution. Iran's strict rules towards foreign journalists, especially female journalists, were overturned by the propagandist's vote of confidence, Shakhdam added. She described Iran as a, quote, unwelcoming place for the Jewish people and compared her visit to quote, walking right into the belly of the beast. The scandal with Shakhdam's alleged infiltration has caused several high-ranking Iranian officials to deny being in contact with her. Atheist Republic was recently granted a special interview with Catherine Shakhdam, as Atheist Republic's founder, Armin Navabi, actually met Shakhdam in person several years prior when she was still a Muslim. Shakhdam disclosed during the Atheist Republic interview that she was somehow accused of spying for both Iran and Israel, and that she believes that the parties accusing her of being a spy, quote, do not believe their own story. Quote, all these competing powers are basically using me as ammunition, she added.
Wait, you didn't include. Okay, so this is very nice. So I don't want to complain. Very, very, very good. Okay, so I want to don't come off as ungrateful, but can we please add to this article the part of the interview where she added that I had an influence in making her an in her atheism, in to go back. Okay, so apparently I planted seeds of doubts when I met her in London when she was like full on Shia, and she credited me in this interview into eventually for her to become an atheist. Okay, so yeah, go watch the interview, guys. Yeah, the interview is on the Secular Jihadist channel. And what should people search for on the Secular Jihadist channel to be able to find this?
Basically the same title, just the Jewish journalist who infiltrated Iran, secular jihadists.
Yeah. So this is the interview. Look at this. So I'm just going to mute it. But yeah, this is me, Susanna, and Catherine talking for about 2 hours. It was very exciting. Like people, you go to read the comments. People were fascinated by her story, right? But she went all the way up. Like she met face to face with Khamenei himself. Like that's how far she managed to get, right? And as a Jewish woman, that's unbelievable. That's amazing. And there's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories, by the way, around her story, and people are accusing of all sorts of baseless things. But if you want to see all the details, like watch the interview. And also, she's gonna have a book out soon about all her experiences. This is like a movie experience. You know what I mean? Like this needs to be turned into a movie. But yeah, guys, go watch that interview. It's very interesting.
Well, Armin, for those who are not familiar with like the story, and like I think for an audience outside of Iran, we really don't have a perspective on how much controversy and scandal this kicked up. Like this was a huge thing. So can you give people more context about that and the specifics of the conspiracy theories?
Well, this was very, very embarrassing because so she was one of, she was given access to, like, she was being used for propaganda because like she is a white woman who converted to Shia Islam and was a defender of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So it was a very this is something that the Islamic Republic really likes to use as propaganda, right? So she was given information to publish in her name. She was publishing articles on Khamenei's own website. And this is like a bragging right for Islamic Republic of Iran. But then all of a sudden she coming out and saying like these people are dangerous, these people are anti-Semitic, these people are anti-woman. She not only turned against the Islamic Republic, she left Islam as a whole. She basically gave up on Islam as a religion that is she recognized as extremely anti-woman, and she published all of these on Israeli publication, right? So like she 180 degree. So this became such drama on Iranian news and social media. People were covering this on Iranian media for weeks, trying to go over every single detail. The Islamic Republic of Iran was trying to do damage control to a lot of, even a lot of people who were pro government, pro Islamic Republic, were trying to figure out, like, this is embarrassing. How could you let something like this happen? How could somebody like this? How could a Jewish person, like, they were being very anti-Semitic about it, right, as well, get so close to such high levels? They wanted to know whether or not there was, this is where the minds go all the time. Was there any sexual relationship? Because maybe, like, this is how she did it, and this is how she managed to get all the way up, making accusations like that against her, because that's what the first thing these people think about, right? But especially because they know how deprived of sex are, like, a lot of these people in the government are, right? So they think, like, and I mean, Catherine Shekdam herself admitted that she was pursued multiple times for exactly that, right? But
By mullahs for sex.
yeah, I know, like, this, because of, like, oh my god, we will never get another chance for, I don't want to get into why, because it's, like, very racist, right? Anyways, so yeah, but this was major news. But I have to say, like, the people who are even anti the Islamic Republic, they also were not nice about her. They had a whole bunch of conspiracy theories that were insane. So both the Islamic Republic, pro Islamic Republic, and anti Islamic Republic people, they both had, like, wild stories about what happened, and, like, neither side seemed to be believed. Like, I mean, they just come up with the craziest stories. But anyways, if you want to know the details, just go watch that interview that we did with her. That was very, I think, like, I watched, like, multiple interviews that were done with her. I think like, I saw BBC interview her, I saw Iran International interview her. I honestly think, like, we did the best job. Like they were, like, editing it, they were, like, trying to come up with their own narratives, and they had their specific agendas. I think, like, we provided a platform where we just let her tell her story. I think we did a good job at that.
I really liked our interview with her. Like, it was much more conversational. We weren't, like, making accusations towards her about anything, but we also needed to address certain questions that specific, like, the Persian audience would have, that we needed to be addressed. But I really like talking to her. Like, I wanted to continue talking to her. She's very smart, has very good analysis of the region, and was quite friendly. I was like, oh, I want to be friends with you.
So recently something happened with their story. Like, she had another publication. She published another article. She published another article, and we're going to bring her on back on Secular Jihadist to interview her again about that, because that's very juicy.
The drama continues, guys, and we will be giving you wall-to-wall coverage.
Yeah, and she confirmed that she will come back on Secular Jihadist. So subscribe to our Secular Jihadist YouTube channel to continue with that, to see where this goes, right?
Yeah. So I put a link to watch the full interview, which I highly recommend, in the live chat. You can also find it in the article that we put on our website, or in YouTube. Search Secular Jihadist, the Jewish journalist who infiltrated Iran, and you'll be able to find the full interview. Lots of people in the live chat are highly recommending it for viewing because it is juicy.
Yeah. Somebody in the live chat is saying you should write a book how and why to be an atheist. Well, okay. I already did. Yes, it's called Why There Is No God. Do I have a copy here? You can. There you go. And you will get a free copy of this book if you subscribe to our newsletter. Link in the description. So if you subscribe to Atheist Republic newsletter, you will get a free copy of Why There Is No God. It's a bestseller, and we're giving it away for free. All you have to do is subscribe to our newsletter. Link in the description. All right. Okay, good. I like it when people ask for things that we have already done. No, you're muted. You're muted, Susan.
Oh, funny you should mention that, because I can meet your needs.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, can we clap for the next news?
I can't decide. It's not. Let's clap.
All right, we will clap, but without enthusiasm. How about that?
Okay.
Next news.
Next news. Accused of spreading atheism and contempt for Islam, Libya abuses activists. Amnesty International recently published a report shedding light on Libya's dreadful repression of young Libyans who were expressing their right to freedom of expression, many persecuted under the explicit accusation of being or associating with atheists. The Internal Security Agency, or ISA, a state affiliated armed group, arrested at least 7 individuals from November 2021 through March 2022 and detained them without due process. In a Facebook post, the ISA claimed that they successfully fought quote unquote immoral behaviors. The arrested individuals were accused of quote spreading a contempt for Islam and communicating with foreign organizations. The ISA also claimed that these individuals had been, quote, conspiring to spread atheism, incite youth to travel outside Libya, and promote unorthodox sexual practices. Videos of the arrested individuals' self-incriminating confessions, which the United Nations says were produced under torture, were circulated by the ISA. In the videos, the individuals identify themselves as atheist, a-religious, secular, and feminist. Liz Trussell, the spokesperson for the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, explained that the actions were justified by the ISA in the statement accusing those arrested of opposing Libyan and Islamic values. According to Trussell, these arbitrary arrests and the defamation on social media are, quote, having a seriously chilling effect on human rights defenders, humanitarian workers, and other civil society actors. Accusations of atheism are particularly dangerous in Libya, as apostasy is punishable by death in the nation.
Okay, this is insane. I almost swore. Is there anything we can like that can be done? Like, what is being done about this? Nothing, right?
So, well, Amnesty International has published this scathing report. They've made several statements about this, and this has gotten the attention of the UN. And the UN has been making there's several different UN bodies that have made statements or reported on this issue and have explicitly condemned Libya and demanded that they stop. Now, in terms of what more can be done, I'm not sure. I think highlighting this issue and talking about it and making more people aware of it is a big step, because I didn't actually hear about this until fairly recently when someone tagged us on Twitter. Now, the problem is that the rule of law situation and the overall governing government situation in Libya is, quite precarious. So how effective any sort of outside pressure would be, I have no way to tell. I think it is really important that we highlight this issue because of this pressure that has been going around and this crackdown. There have been several civil societies or organizations. There is a prominent organization called the Tanvir movement that within the past month had to actually close down and dissolve its board of directors and flee the country because of these actions being taken against these activists. And under these forced confessions, they are giving away the names of other people who have since had to go into hiding because they're facing death threats or had to flee the country altogether. So it's a very complex situation. On Libyan social media, there have been open calls for the death sentence against the people who have been accused of these things, the death sentence for their supposed apostasy. So even if these people who were illegally detained were released, their lives would still very much be in danger.
Bread of Life is asking in the live chat, how many countries make atheism punishable by death? I think last time I checked it was 13, unless there's an update on that.
I think nowadays it's 9.
Okay, I heard. So it's the difference between whether it's enforced or not enforced. So it depends on how you define it. Like, so some countries have it on their books that is punishable by death, but they don't enforce it as much. So yeah, something between 9 and 13. And guess what? All of them Islamic countries, right? There's not a single non-Islamic countries under this that makes atheism punishable by death. I really appreciate how much Bread of Life cares about us atheists, okay? Because Bread
I
of Life
know
is,
it's so heartwarming. We don't get it very
Christian.
much.
Yeah, we don't get that many religious people coming and caring about atheists. That's very sweet. Like, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Also, D is saying Libya has so much UN infiltration that this is surprising to me. Well, I mean, the UN infiltration is mostly focused right now on stopping the war, like creating stability, political stability. I don't think the UN activity in Libya right now is that much focused on like internal human rights violation. I think they're just trying to create a government and stop the war from happening continuing. So that's what I think their attention is directed at right now. It's amazing how a country right now that is this much occupied with war and instability, they still make time enough to like, oh yeah, like this is a threat. Sure, yeah, these people who are like writing about their views on social media and just like not believing in religion, I think that's the least of your problems right now, Libya. Like, your country is falling apart. You don't have a stable government. There's civil war, constant civil war, and you think this is a threat to your country? Like, just people not believing in Islam? Like, don't you have higher priorities? Like, this should not be a problem. This should not be something.
No, there's a few very important pieces of information that I want to include. So these 7 men confessed this is from Amnesty International, confessed under apparent duress to communicating with atheists, agnostics, Quranists, feminists, and secularists, both online and in person. In the recorded confessions, detainees were coerced into labeling other activists and civil societies workers, both inside of and outside of Libya, as, quote, atheists, agnostics, Quranists, gays, lesbians, or feminists. So and they're accused of undermining Libyan morality and all that stuff. So I found this very interesting for a couple reasons. One, the fact that Quranists are included in the godless and the depraved.
So Mohammed bin
how they
Salman
would
would
consider
be on this list.
I mean, so for those who don't know, a Quranist is someone who just focuses on the Quran as their source of guidance and like what they should follow, that they dismiss the authority or importance of the Hadith, which is the sayings and teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. They maybe think that they're not as authentic, and so they don't want to follow them. However, this is highly contentious within Islam, because if you're a Quranist, then the rulings that's supposed to teach you how to pray are in the Hadith. So it throws a lot into question. It's very unorthodox.
Yeah, so the simple explanation is that the Quranists are a fringe group of Muslims who dismiss the Hadith as a source as scripture in Islam, and they consider only the Quran to be relevant and nothing else. It's a very fringe group of Muslims, and apparently Libya thinks that's also punishable by death, to be a Quranist. Hey, like they're grouping some Muslims with atheists. Amazing. But I wasn't being very serious when I said Mohammed bin Salman, because Mohammed bin Salman just recently came out against 99% of hadith out there, like, but he still considered hadith mutawatir as authentic, but that's just like very few. So he's like a semi Quranist, but not a full Quranist. But I don't know. So hey, Mohammed bin Salman, don't go to Libya. They might arrest you.
Oh, by the way, Ghost Bunny looked it up, and I just double checked online. So there are 13 countries where atheism or apostasy is punishable by death. Just wanted to make sure we get that correction on there. I confused the number because it was bigger, but Sudan recently abolished the death penalty for apostasy about 2 years ago. So that's a success. So I did remember that some was lessened, but not enough. It should be exactly 0. And what I thought was very interesting was how, it's the godless and the gays who are, included in this group of society that's so unacceptable and undermining Libya. So when these people are being accused of promoting unorthodox sexual practice in the name of freedom, to quote. I think what they're referring to is same-sex relationships or or homosexual relationships. Oftentimes, it's not necessarily clear because, obviously like zina or like Islamically illegal sexual relationships can be a lot of things. But oftentimes when they're talking about unorthodox or against nature, that is typically specifically referring to anything regarding the same-sex relationships. So I thought that was worth mentioning.
Is Siraj in the live chat? Like, is he an atheist or what? Muslim or Christian? Do you know Siraj? Because I want to highlight.
Siraj in the live chat is an anomaly to me. He confuses me. I never know what to make of what's going on over there.
Because look, Bread of Life, who's a Christian in the live chat, just commented saying, I was expressing surprise about the number of countries that seek to execute atheists, and with a sad face. Okay. And Siraj responds to Bread of Life by saying, why are you so sad? Are you atheist? Like, Siraj, like, do you only care about people who are in your tribe? Like, is that how your sympathy works? Like, are you, I mean, I don't understand. Why is this is this such a foreign concept to you that people could actually care about other people even if they don't share their tribe with them? Like, are you that tribal? Is your mind so people are saying he's a Muslim. So you as a Siraj, you as a Muslim are surprised that a Christian cares about atheists. So you don't care about atheists. I don't understand. You want to be sad if Christians are being oppressed. If atheists are being oppressed, you don't care about that. Because let me tell you guys, like, Siraj doesn't represent most Muslims. Like, a lot of Muslims, like, this is like, I don't want to use Siraj to say like, oh, look how Muslims behave, because I'm pretty sure most Muslims will be upset about any person suffering, whether they're Muslim, atheist, or Christian. So, like, please, like, this is a Siraj problem, not this. This is not. I don't know. Okay, so Siraj is saying, no, I don't support apostasy law. So then why are you surprised of Bread of Life's sadness over what's happening to atheists? Like, aren't you sad as well? Don't you get sad when atheists are being wronged or oppressed? Do you, like, why is this a question for you? I don't understand.
Oh, one final thing I wanted to add about the Libya news is that we do not actually know if the people who are, made to do these forced confessions under duress actually are atheists or agnostics or secularists, feminists, Quranists, etc. We don't actually know that. But what we do know is that accusation is what the Libyan regime finds useful in garnering sentiment against these people. Right? So I posted about this issue on my Instagram stories. If you want to follow me on Instagram, link in the description. And there were lots of people in different Arabic and Islamic countries who replied to me saying, yeah, this thing happens all the time. Whether or not it's true, they will use this accusation against you because they know exactly how dangerous it is. So this is not only an issue of like, oh, we should just care about these people because they're atheists. We don't actually know if that's true or not, but what we should care about, and that wouldn't matter to us regardless. But what's poignant is that, this is what can be thrown against someone so easily, and that's seen as such a detrimental and defamatory thing to throw against someone.
Okay, Siraj is clarifying. Siraj is saying, I am sad, but there is a Christian thing. All Muslims are bad, therefore Christianity is right. So I was asking, what is his agenda? Okay, I don't understand what you're saying, but thank you for actually caring for atheists. I appreciate that. I don't know what you're saying, but the fact that you care, that's good. Okay. Okay, cool. So can we clap for the next news?
What do you think?
Let me read the okay, we could clap with that enthusiasm. Okay, this is a clap just to show that the next news is coming. We're not celebrating this at all. Okay, next news.
Next news. Taliban opens and then immediately recloses schools for girls in Afghanistan. On March 17th, the Taliban announced that they would allow female high school students back to school. A week after the announcement, they backtracked on their decision. An education ministry notice informed, quote, all girls' high schools and those schools that have female students above class 6 that are off until the next order. The education ministry explained that the schools would reopen after a decision regarding the female school uniforms is made based on, quote, Sharia law and Afghan tradition. The initial announcement of resuming secondary education for schools thrilled many in the nation, but it was not without conditions. The spokesperson for the Taliban's Ministry of Education explained that female students will be assigned in a separate classroom and will only be taught by female teachers. Despite the Taliban's best efforts to have its Islamic emirate recognized as a legitimate government, most countries, especially Western nations, are reluctant. The education of girls and the rights of women are a central sticking point in their relationship to the new rulers of Afghanistan. The Taliban's sudden U-turn on girls' education caused deep anger and resentment from many parents and students. A recent video posted on Twitter went viral, which showed a girl crying after being sent home. The girl can be heard sobbing while saying, quote, Mother, they didn't let me go to school today. They said girls aren't allowed to go to school.
Should I play the video?
Can you read the caption to the video first? Because I don't think
You
there are
read it.
subtitles and it's not in English. Okay. Quote, Mother, they didn't let me go to school today. They said girls aren't allowed to go to school. And then it continues, Afghanistan is the only country in the world where girls are banned from going to school.
All right, let's play the video. Oh. You know, I've never seen. I saw a lot of videos like this after the schools for girls were shut down again. Because, like, this is emotional abuse, right? Because you're like, first you told them that the schools are opening, and on the day that they're going to school, on that day they told them like, nope, sorry, like, but I've never seen this many kids so excited to go to school. Like, you know, that has not been my experience of childhood. My experience of childhood has been like people being excited that school is closed. But every time I see videos of in Afghanistan, girls, mostly girls, constantly, you know, demanding to go to school, and they get heartbroken. There were so many videos like this of girls crying about the schools being closed. I mentioned to you what I thought my hypothesis was for why they first allowed it and they didn't allow it.
Yes,
I think,
please explain.
you know, okay, so I don't know if this is true or not, okay, but I think a lot of people think Taliban is just one thing, okay, but Taliban, there's a whole bunch of people fighting over with each other, Taliban versus Taliban, whether what's more important, right? Like, a lot of members of Taliban think like Taliban is changing. This is not what we fought for. We're giving, like, all our values are being gone. But the other Taliban is like, okay, we need to run this country, so we need to like appease the international world so that they actually trade with us, they actually recognize us, because we need money coming in. We need to have like this and that. So we're gonna, like, you know, so, and I think there's like different ideas fighting with each other within Taliban, right? And I think they promised the international community that their girls would be educated, but a lot of Talibans were not happy with it. But when the girls actually came out, the image, this is my feeling about this. I don't know if this is true or not, okay? But I think seeing all these girls just walking in the streets without a burqa, right, with just a hijab and no burqa, was such a shocking negative view. You know, it's just, you know, for us, it seems like these are very conservative outfit. Like, they're wearing the full hijab, they're covering their
They're
hair.
already very covered up.
They're very covered up, but I think for a Talibani mind, like, this is like spreading, like, it seems very degenerate. Like, all these women out in the open without a man, guiding them, and they're none of, like, they're not wearing a burqa or anything. All of their faces are showing. So I think the day that the schools for girls open and seeing all of these girls in the street, the shock of that gave an upper hand to people, to the Taliban, that were like, this is not okay, right? And it was like they, a lot of Talibans who might have been on the sideline, I think, like, were convinced that, yeah, okay, this is not okay. Because I think some Taliban like, this is this what you want? Is this what Taliban has become? Look at the level of degeneracy that we're spreading in Afghanistan. This is happening under our name. Look at all
Mhm.
these girls in the street just walking about freely, right? Like, they're like, this cannot happen under, our regime. Like, this is like too much, right? So I think with that imagery, they managed to get the upper hand and be like, okay, nope, no, 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 we're not going to let this happen. So they just closed it. And now the wording is like, okay, we're going to reopen the schoolgirls, but we have to have a talk about the dress code, right? Like, so that's what the word is right now. I don't know if what that means. I don't know if they're gonna, like, because everything was covered except, I think also um the hijab that doesn't have a burqa or a chador, it fits the body too well. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you could see curves, and you could
You
see,
can see the
like,
silhouette of their body.
you can see the silhouette of the body, right? So even though the entire body is covered, the hair is covered, the fact that the girls look so, you can see the body shape. For that, for them, that's unacceptable, right? They want a covering that the silhouette is not observable, right? So yeah, I think a lot of them were like thinking like, oh my god, all these girls, I can see their bodies, I can see their silhouette. This, like, the hijab that we consider, um, even Iran's regime considers acceptable, I think based on Taliban standards, is too much, right? So
Mhm.
I think that's what they're reacting to.
Well, Armin,
That's my guess. Yeah.
I think you're
Yeah.
very much correct because I found some analysis by the BBC that I wanted to share. So this is from the BBC.
Oh.
Quote, privately, Taliban members admit female education remains a controversial issue amongst their most hardline elements. This chaotic and last minute policy reversal makes clear the divisions within the group and underlines how out of touch with the aspirations of modern Afghan society parts of the leadership are. Activist Mahumba Siraj, founder of the Afghan Women's Network, was bemused by the U-turn. Quote, the excuse they gave was, you don't have the proper hijab on. There was no ruling. They just decided this morning that the hijab was not proper for whatever reason, she told the BBC. She said, the girls' schools' uniforms in Afghanistan are pretty covered up, always. And the secondary schools are already segregated by gender. Yeah, so that basically goes to your point. This is more a reflection of the hardline elements saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! What are we doing here? We can't be doing this. Look at this." And they're like, shoot, okay, we'll figure out the better hijab and figure it out later." So at the moment, it's just on like indefinite hold until they can figure out what's proper hijab. Now, what's interesting is the BBC also noted that despite what many people might perceive or believe, the actual rate of girls going to school where available has continued or actually increased after the Taliban came to power because there actually is increased security and safety under the Taliban. So it's not one size fits all. It varies highly depending on the region because there have been many regions that have kind of under the table, very quietly, like continued girls' education even in secondary school and high school, like this whole time. Like they, just did it very carefully. They didn't make a big deal about it, but they still continued despite these explicit bans. And then there's some areas where it's just been a solid no go. So it isn't as totalistic as people might perceive. And
Right.
I still am fascinated by the fact that in these areas where it has been allowed to continue, albeit very quietly, that there are reports that the attendance has actually increased.
Yeah, so I think the Taliban would wish that they could have girls' schools open, without that much attention brought to it. Okay, because like I mean the people at the top. Okay, let all of the Taliban, because if imagine if you were the Taliban, right? So you want international recognition, you want to be able to do trade with the world, you want the money, money to be unfrozen and everything flowing back in, right? So, but at the same time, you're afraid of insurgency, like you're afraid of people, Taliban members turning on you, right? So
Or
this is
joining
like,
ISIK.
yeah, I mean,
ISK.
yeah, so actually that's a very good point, Susanna. Like that's a lot of the people who left Taliban and joined ISIS-K, who's now attacking Taliban. A lot of them are people who think that Taliban has lost its way, and even accuse Taliban of being ex-Muslims. Right? Taliban is one of us now, because they're thinking like they're infidels and unbelievers because they are negotiating with the United States and also doing these things, allowing girls to go study. Like they're like, okay, you guys are not Muslim anymore, right? So that's why a lot of people, um, well, many people have left the Taliban and joined other groups, right? And so Taliban has, the way they're calculating these is like they're trying to find a way to do these things without like breaking Taliban apart, because I think they're right now they're more afraid of their own members than anything external, right? So I think they I might feel like they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place, because they might have internal. Okay, so if they don't get international recognition, Afghanistan is going to suffer economically, is already suffering, devastated economically, right? But this could become even worse and worse and worse if they don't manage to start opening to the world, like both for investment and trade, right? And that could start an internal collapse, like internal revolt from within. But if they open, also it could start, like in both cases, one because of poverty. So if they open to the world, they might get a revolt from the Taliban members, and if they don't open to the world, they might get a revolt internally from the people because of the poverty, right, and absolute failure of running a government, right? So they're just trying to figure out where that line is, and how to is I mean, it's not a very, I mean, if you were Taliban and you had the Taliban mindset, this would be a very difficult decision to make on what to do right now. Yeah, but we'll
It'd be
see.
at a later time, because we don't have time during this segment, but I think it'd be really interesting to discuss the sanctions regimes on Afghanistan and the controversy surrounding them, holding women's rights over the country as a condition of receiving international aid or their foreign reserves. While we might think that that's, morally superior or for the goodwill of these women and girls in the nation. In the meanwhile, well, they are actually suffering and being forced to sell their organs and being forced into child marriages. In
Yeah.
the meanwhile, they're starving to death in the meanwhile for the sake of their own women's rights. Which is worse, which is actually.
Yeah, you might. I mean, education is very important, but like food might be more important right now, right? So I don't know if you want to. I mean, I think like wanting girls in Kabul to be able to go to school and using the starvation of girls in other, in outside of the cities as a weapon for the sake of the girls in the cities to be able to go to school, that like seems like, okay, like are we actually pro woman if we're starving some of the, we're starving some women so that other, as a pressure against Taliban.
Armin, it's not even some, it's the majority of the country.
The majority, yeah,
the vast
starving,
majority. It's like less than 5% that has food security.
It's not very pro woman to starve the majority of women in Afghanistan for the sake of
education.
The education of some other women of Afghanistan. However, somebody might say, actually, Armin, you're wrong, because education is the future economy of the country, right? You know what I mean? So they're saying like, if you deprive education from half of the population, longer term, that also might actually make more people go hungry, because you need education for a country to become developed, economically progress, right? So You might be like,
Yeah,
yeah,
but in the
maybe.
meanwhile, these girls that you care so much about are being forced into marriages at the age of 6 years old.
Yeah, it's not an easy calculation to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not that simple to be like, okay, I don't. It's not that easy to see what is the right decision. However, one wrong decision by the Biden administration that is obvious, I think, is when the frozen money of Afghanistan, instead of releasing that to Afghanistan, they give it to the victims of 9/11.
That is
Okay,
outrageous.
that was the most insane decision I've ever seen. Like one of the most insane decisions I've ever seen that was made by the Biden administration. I'm pretty sure
Taking the money of the people of Afghanistan and giving it to the victim in 11 is outrageous. It is
it's
a
ins-
moral outrage. Like, obviously, we have sympathy for the victims of 9/11 and their families, okay? But they have
they're
received
not starving right
a
now.
lot of monetary compensation for that event already over the years. Are the people of Afghanistan not also victims of 9/11 in a way?
Yeah, exactly. That it
They're
was.
some of the they're some of the biggest victims of 9/11. Like, it is outrageous. I can't, like, that itself needs to be getting
It's
way
like
more
the
attention.
people of Afghanistan didn't do 9/11. Why are you stealing their money and giving it to the victims of 9/11? They need it more right now. They're starving. The victims of 9/11, they're not starving. Okay, like why? Like
To
I
me,
don't
it's
understand
completely
the logic behind
unacceptable.
this. Like this was the Biden. Okay, so we have been defending Biden administration many times against like false, accusations against them. But this does not. This was insane. I don't know if there's any excuse for that. Yeah, D
Can you
is
look at a few
agreeing.
of the live chat questions in response to this news while I go to the bathroom really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Let me see. Yeah, D is agreeing. Say, yep, that was wrong. Miss Cha is also agreeing, saying preach. Uh, Beep Poop is saying Afghanistan wasn't even responsible for 9/11. Well, not Afghanistan, but some people are saying you could maybe say the Taliban was complicit by providing bin Laden a base of operations, right? So you could say Taliban was, but obviously the Afghanistan and the Afghan people weren't. Um, yeah, Blank name agrees. Oh, Katie is here. Hi, Katie. Katie just woke up, joined after a long time. Hi, Katie. It's great to have you here. Actually, Katie, it's good that you're here because the next news is about the Indian state government making Hindu scripture part of the curriculum. So it's so good to have you here so we could get your commentary on it. Yeah. So I don't have, let me just share this screen because I don't have any other commentary on that. Okay, Susanna's back. Good. Susanna's coming.
We had
There
a
you
bunch of
go.
starred comments, but we need to
Oh
move on.
wow, you're right. Never mind. I forgot about those. Okay, sorry. I should have read those. Okay, so Ghost Bunny saying so the way a girl is dressed prevents them from getting an education. I wonder if parents can reach out to Western educators and get online schooling for their children.
That'd be very
Um,
difficult. Only about 11% of Afghanistan has access to the internet.
there you go. Susanna already has the answer. Music guy saying they promised girls could go to school and they broke it. Yep.
They still say
Blanket.
that it's going to resume. It's just indefinite. But they're saying like it will happen this year.
Yeah, they're saying we need better outfits. This is too much. This is like they were, yeah. Which is weird because we're talking about children here, right? We're talking about children.
Talk about a self-report.
Yeah, Blank Name is saying unacceptable. FDS Islamic State. Yep. DSM because they can't play outside their either Armin. They are hostages. Who? The girls. Yes. Oh, this was in a comment that I highlighted. These girls have never seen Taliban in their entire life. Yeah, actually, it's very interesting because some of us forget that how young the population of Afghanistan is. Like when Taliban came to Kabul, the vast majority of Kabul had never seen Taliban ever before. Like the people were coming out to see them as if they're a tourist attraction because they've heard about Taliban, how on the news all the time. Taliban this, Taliban attacked this place, at that place. Okay, but they never seen Taliban in Kabul before, and now like all these children that used to hear about Taliban but never seen Taliban, now they're being told like, oh yeah, Taliban is now telling you that you can't go to school. So like it's like a nightmare. Like that boogeyman that was always there in these rural areas in the mountains, that was always attacking, that the country was at war with at all, most of all of their childhood, is now taking over the cities that they're living in and telling you not that you can't go to school. So it's like I can't imagine, like, as a child, like, even if you're like 15-year old, your entire life you've never been ruled by Taliban, and now they're taking over and telling
I
you that, like,
think
everything has changed. It's some yeah.
it's obviously highly variable depending on location, but I have to push back on you making it seem like this is only about education in the cities, because this is supposed to be about education across the entire country. We can both say that who will benefit the most will be the people already in metropolitan areas, but it's not like only it's for the people in Kabul, right? But what's so interesting is, to your point, in 2020, 42% of Afghanistan's population was under the age of 14.
Right. That's crazy. Okay, so the reason why I was saying Kabul and Kandahar, I should say some other major cities as well. The reason why I say that is because, like you said, in rural areas, you might be able to get away with teaching, even if that's the official policy. You might be able to get away with still teaching girls under the radar. You know what I mean? So that's what I thought it might be happening. I mean, right now, like, is there nobody? A lot of people don't even know what the rules are. You know what I mean? Like, people, apparently, men are supposed to now put on beard if they want to have government jobs, but some men are putting beards.
We're going to talk about that next week.
Okay, yeah, but like, people don't know like what the rules are, if the rules that are on the books are going to be enforced. Some people are going out of their way to even follow the rules that are not still on the books, but Taliban had those rules 20 years ago just in case. So people, it's very confusing. Like, people don't know who's in charge. I mean, the Taliban doesn't even know who's in charge right now, like who's, like, which rules are going to be enforced and which rules aren't. Like, it's chaotic. Anyways, and last comment, Adam was saying, imagine if you were the Taliban, is a phrase you don't hear enough of. Okay, Adam. All right, sure. Okay. Okay, can we clap for the next news?
Yes, but not because we support it.
Okay, next news.
Indian state government makes Hindu scripture part of curriculum for grades 6 through 12. On March 17th, during a legislative assembly, the state government of Gujarat, India, announced that the Hindu holy scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, will be integrated into the compulsory curriculum for grade 6 through grade 12 students. During a press conference, Jitu Vaghani, Gujarat's education minister, explained that despite the Bhagavad Gita being a Hindu scripture, quote, all faiths have accepted the moral values and principles outlined.
What? When?
The announcement was quickly condemned by representatives from other religions, despite Vaghani's claims that other faiths had accepted the state's decision. Cedric Prakash, a Jesuit priest, accused Gujarat's government of majoritarianism by stating, quote, the study of any and every religion or holy book needs to be welcomed at all times. But introducing only the study of the Bhagavad Gita smacks of majoritarianism. A.C. Michael, the founder of the United Christian Forum in India, recommended that students should be given the option to choose which religious scripture they can learn about. After Gujarat's announcement, the state of Karnataka's assembly recently is also considering establishing the same policy. If passed, Karnataka's curriculum will make the Bhagavad Gita compulsory for all grade levels.
Even like Muslim kids have to learn this, for example?
This is non-optional.
So you're okay. How is this not going to start a riot? Like, are Muslims in India? I mean, I'm assuming Muslims in India are going to be very upset about their kids being forced to learn the Gita. No, is this not going to cause, like, how is, like, so, like, okay, I don't know. I don't want to make any blanket statement about Muslims, okay? But the way I've seen things work out around the world, getting Muslims, forcing Muslim kids to study pagan scripture is not going to end well. I don't know if that's maybe I'm making a slippery slope fallacy here or not, but like I don't know. This doesn't seem that's going to end well. What do you think?
Well, I think you're on the right track because it should. So the geolocation of this is extremely important to this story. So it should be remembered that, and by the way, I know I pronounced Gujurat wrong, okay? It's difficult for me, okay? Anyways, should be noted that in Gujurat 20 years ago, that is the state where there were deadly riots that many will label and describe as a religious pogrom, where thousands of people were killed, mostly Muslims, over interreligious communal violence. These are a notorious series of riots that the anniversary, the 20th anniversary of which occurred recently, that are still a very sore and contentious spot on the Indian collective consciousness. And it should also be noted that the chief minister of the state at that time was the now prime minister, Narendra Modi. And he has been accused of intentionally allowing the violence to continue or being complicit in the violence and death that killed thousands and thousands of people. So the fact that this is happening in that state is a very important part of this story. It is also very important to talk about how, so since this was announced in Gujarat, then the state of Karnataka came forward and was like, oh, well, we're going to consider this same policy. Now, the fact that this is, possibly being proposed in Karnataka is rich. It is hypocritical to the extreme, because I would like people to, think back about this recent hijab controversy that we have been talking about on the news frequently over the past few months. This hijab controversy where there's, so much contention over our government schools allowed to ban the hijab in the classroom, aka ban a religious symbol in the classroom. Is that allowed? Are they allowed to do that? The high court of that state ruled yes, because they ruled that the hijab is not an essential article of Islam, which was based on previous precedent. But part of that debate about the hijab in the classroom was all about secularism in the classroom. Is this against India's secularism? The mandates of a secular environment in the school environment, and equality, and making, drawing attention to differences between communities and all this stuff. Those were a lot of excuses used in allowing the banning of the hijab in the classroom. This same state that apparently, supposedly cares so much about secularism is now considering making Hindu holy scripture compulsory across all grade levels. Oh, they care about secularism, like my behind. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Wasn't there argument for allowing the ban on hijab in schools that it's not a necessary? Okay, so we have Hindutva telling Muslims what is mandatory in Islam. Okay, so they decided to tell Muslims that hijab is not a mandatory part of your religion, right? But that's why it's okay to ban the hijab in schools, right? And the reason I think they use that line is because because they know that they can't go full secular on Muslims and say, like, we're banning the hijab because we don't allow religious symbols, because they are not going to be able to apply the same logic to the turban, because they wouldn't even dare ban turbans in schools. Okay, they wouldn't dare ban turbans in schools. So they're like, okay, what do we do? We can't use secular.
The Sikh turban.
The Sikh turban, right? So they were like, "What can we?" So I think what's happening is like we can't say like we don't allow religious symbols because there's no way that we could ban the Sikh turban. So they come up with this excuse of saying it has to be mandatory in your religion, right? So given that hijab is not mentioned in the Quran, well, I mean it's kind of mentioned, but it's not clear. We're gonna say that this is not mandatory in your religion, so we don't allow. It's bannable, but the turban is like like it's a necessary part of Sikhism, so we can't ban that in schools. I think that's what they came. I think that might be the reason why they use that line of reasoning, right? So, but based on their own arguments, okay, Hinduism, there's nothing in Hinduism that makes it mandatory for you to teach the Gitas to children. The
In
Gita to
fact,
children.
historically, it's been very taboo for.
Has it?
Yeah, I mean, remember when we were learning about Hinduism on those courses online, and it talked about how the Aryan script, the Sanskrit, is so holy that like only certain castes are allowed to even hear the words of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think that's about the Vedas. I'm not sure if that's about the Gita.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Anyways, but we know for sure that there's nothing in Hinduism that makes it mandatory for you to learn the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, right? There's nothing. So it's not a mandatory.
In general, in Hinduism, there is a great de-emphasis on learning textual scripture.
Yeah. So, okay. So your school should be able to ban teaching the Gita, but you can't do that because you made it mandatory. So you guys, like, I don't understand. Like, can you be any more hypocritical? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's so unbelievable. Can somebody make this more clear for us? Because I don't know how they can get away with this being so contradictory, so obviously, biased towards Hinduism. Like, are they even trying to hide it? Like, they're not even trying to hide it. Like, they're
Not
like,
really.
yeah, they're laughing at us. So like, yeah, look at these people trying to expose us for like being oppressive towards other ones and being pro-Hindu. Like, oh, you got us. Like, I think they're like, oh no,
what a bad accusation.
No, really? Oh my God, you got us. Like, I think they're just being fully transparent about it. I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, okay, one thing that I want to touch on is in terms of like the reasoning behind the hijab ruling. I think the explicit reasoning behind it is not exactly what you were saying. The explicit reasoning about ruling on if it's essential or obligatory has more to do with previous precedents that have been unfolding over decades about what religious symbols are allowed or not allowed and when the state can intervene and when it can't. But I think maybe behind the scenes, there was a lot of motivation, or, implicitly, there was potentially a lot of that motivation that you were saying. Now, the excuse that the government is giving is that this is okay because, quote, all faiths have accepted the moral values and principles outlined, in this book, in this scripture. Well, if that's the case, you could make it compulsory to study other religious texts as well, because every religion has some portion of it that other religions will also approve of and agree on, right? Like the golden rule, so do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Like that idea or that concept appears literally in every culture around the world. This idea of, oh, well, if other people have accepted these values and therefore we can talk about that. Well, then what about like Islam? Like, should you also be teaching about in Islam, taking care of orphans or almsgiving? Almsgiving is promoted in pretty much every faith. Donating to the poor, caring for the needy, that's promoted in every faith that I'm aware of. That should also mean that other faiths should be included. And here's the thing. The way that this could be taught or talked about is very sketchy, because the way that it's discussed in the news and by these representatives says explicitly that this will be taught in such a way that students will have an interest and a desire to want to learn about these things. Now, to me, that sounds highly biased. My preference is that if we're teaching about religions in schools, it should not be in any ways to promote values. It should only be to explain the presence of values and explain historical context in the history and development of faiths. Purely historical, objective analysis. It should not be to promote any certain values. And they're also trying to get away with this by saying that this is a part of Indian culture and history. And so really we're just promoting Indian history. Well, other faiths in India have a great depth of history, and scholars of India from India of different faiths have contributed greatly to the expansion and knowledge and scholarship of these faiths. So that is also a part of Indian culture and also part of Indian history. So their own arguments and excuses are just, they fall through immediately.
Okay, so before we go to the comments, because I started a whole bunch of comments, I also want to mention. So you said that their claim is that other religions have accepted the values of the Gita, right?
Quote, all faiths have accepted the moral values and principles outlined.
Okay, that is like, I don't know if you're familiar with Islam because they are not at all pro Gita. Like, which values? Because this is the Gita is
violent,
fun.
It's casteist.
Just a second, let me finish my point, please. No, it's like Islam is very sensitive about idol worship or shirk. Like, you specific, this entire book, Bhagavad Gita, is about Krishna, okay, talking to Arjun, okay. This is like the highest degree of shirk in Islam. There's no bigger sin. There's nothing more evil and disgusting and abhorrent and disgusting, in Islam. This is, you can't get worse than this. When you have somebody, like something in the human form, claiming to be a god talking to a human, it goes against the essence and fundamentals of Islam. Like, for you to tell Muslims, like, oh yeah, you accept the values of this book, like, have you met Islam? There's, this this is like completely the opposite of what they are agree with. Okay. And also, I don't know which values of the Gita you're like. I don't think a lot of people think like Bhagavad Gita is about like love and compassion and, I don't know,
or ego death,
or following your duty. But it's because these people haven't read the Gita. This is like one of the most violent, I would say this is the most violent scripture there is. Okay. I did a stream on it a while back. I don't know what the stream was called. Is, I think if you search for Hinduism violence, it should come up. But I am actually convinced that the Gita is more violent than the Quran. I know, like, in practice, it doesn't end up like that because not that many Hindus take their scripture as seriously. But at least on paper, this is like this book. Yeah, just search for Hinduism violence, Atheist Republic, and I think that the video is it. So the title of the video that I did is called "Is Hinduism the Most Violent Religion?" Okay, if you read this book, this book excuses genocide. Okay, for the sake of just following your duty, just following orders, just following your karma. It's absolutely insane. It's unbelievable how many people who are not even Hindu celebrate this book without even reading it as a book full of wisdom. This is the most disgusting book that there is among all scripture. And I know, again, Islam is, Quran is extremely violent, okay? But among all scripture, nothing gets more violent and disgusting as the Gita, okay? And they are celebrating this book as something that is supposed to have good values in it. It's unbelievable.
No,
somebody's like, it's worse than Christianity. Go on.
In Karnataka, if it does become part of the education curriculum, it would be taught under the subject titled moral sciences.
Unbelievable. Somebody, Christopher, saying Armin, Arjuna is at war with relatives, not other ethnic groups or religions. Okay, so maybe, okay, so I should say, technically, I should have said it excuses mass murder, not genocide. Okay, sure. It excuses mass murder because it's not based on any ethnicity. Okay, so fair point. Yes, he's killing his own relatives, and he's like Arjuna. Actually, if you read the story, Arjuna comes across as the guy that is like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to shed blood. Um, this is wrong. These are my family. Okay, like what good could come from this? Like he's the
He's
person for.
distraught.
Yeah, he's like, this is bad. This is wrong. And God, Krishna comes and like it tells him, no, that it's okay, that you should, your caste determines that you're a warrior, that you should, this is your duty, you should shed blood. And he
And they've
tells,
already died.
they already died because the future is already determined. And he tells Krishna tells Arjun that nobody actually dies, so it's okay to murder these people because dying is just basically the same as you changing your clothes, because the soul will persist. Like imagine that line of reasoning. Like he doesn't even care about what the goal of the killing is. It's all about just you just follow your duty. You don't question your dharma. It's the way. You don't question the dharma. This is your duty, this is your caste, this is the role that the universe has determined for you. You just do what you're supposed to do without questioning it, and don't worry about people dying. It doesn't even matter if they're guilty or not, because at the end of the day, people dying is just souls changing their clothes, just going from one body to another one. Imagine having that mentality over murder. And then he convinces Arjun, who was at the beginning of the story, somebody that was for peace, for not killing. At the end of it, he gets convinced that it's okay to just kill your own family and goes to war. The whole entire book is about convincing somebody that was on the side of peace. By the end of it, God convinces him to be on the side of war. This is worse than the Abrahamic books where like God is convincing. Like this is like at least okay. So the Abrahamic scripture is also convinces you of mass violence, okay, but it tells you like, oh, you're the good guys and those are the bad guys, okay, and the excuses are terrible, but it at least tells you that, oh, we're good, they're bad. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, it's like, it doesn't really matter, they could be the good guys, okay, you could lose, we could determine that they win and you could be the bad, they could be good people, okay, but it doesn't matter. This is what your role is, just go do your job. Okay, is even more horrible than Abrahamic religions. It's unbelievably disgusting. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of star comments. Did you want to add anything?
Katie is bringing up the very good point, and so many people still don't get how reincarnation could be an extremely regressive idea.
Right.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great point.
Stormy is saying the simple fact is that none of these politicians have ever read any Hindu scripture. They just want to use these books to beat up others and whip up a frenzy and stir up support from their base. Yeah. Bengali Hindu, one of our local Hindu supporters, is saying either all religious books should be allowed or none of the religious books should be allowed.
None, please. I think the way religious books could be allowed in schools if it's in college and being studied from a secular perspective, like not like if you're studying scripture as a way to study history, that's fine, okay, not part of like not part of a curriculum, as if like these are good values. Like if you're studying the Quran or Gita or Christianity, it can't be a propaganda for these religious scripture. It could be like, let's study the Quran from a literature perspective or from a historical perspective, or the Bible or the Gita, but not the school shouldn't be used as a way to like advertise these scriptures as a source of morality. And you can see by the way that they're talking about teaching Gita, it's not about like studying history or culture or literature. It's about using Gita as a source of values, which is exactly the way we're opposed to that. Yeah.
There's
Everybody
a really dumb comment by James Smith that I think we should address.
Yeah.
Saying, also, are you guys in India? And why do you care if they ban them over there? Aren't you from Canada? Shouldn't you be more worried about how the Canadian government tried to cover up Catholic crimes to Indigenous children? Well, James, we already freaking covered that on the channel frequently. Second of all, Armin, please take it away with tearing up this first comment.
Yeah, this is insane, James. Unlike, first of all, this is a fake name. This guy is from India, right? Uh, as he himself is saying, James. Unlike you, okay, most of us here have the capacity to care about our other people, whether they share a country with us or not. Okay, I don't know if you have enough kindness or sympathy inside you to be able to care about people that don't live in your country, but I'm sure like you don't, unlike you, most Indians care about people outside of their borders. Okay, and just like many Indians who care about other people outside of the borders of their country, we also care about people. Like, do you really think like as a Canadian I should only care about Canadians? How insane, how psychopathic you have to be, how much full of emotion, how much like empty of emotion and care that you have to be for your fellow human beings to think like us, like you only have to, like you care only about Indians, so you think other people like me, like just because I'm Canadian, I should only care about Canadians. Well, no, like we actually care about other humans. Okay, we care about Indians, we care about people who live in India. I know it might be such a foreign concept to you because you don't have enough care in your mind for other people, but people in India, they are human beings and we love our fellow human beings, so we care for them. Okay. And I'm pretty sure many Indians care for Canadians. Many Indians care for people in Iran or in Saudi Arabia or in Russia or in Ukraine. Okay. They have more sympathy. I'm glad to say that most Indians are not like you. I'm glad to say that most Indians have the capacity to understand what it means to care about people that don't share the same borders, share the same country with you.
Yeah, what can I say? We're just not as tribalistic as you are. Misha is saying,
Yeah.
why do you have to be living in a country to care about it? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and also, why are you being such a hypocrite? Like, if we're in Canada and you're in India, then why are you talking about us? Why are you commenting about us? Shouldn't you be talking
Why
about
do
things
you
in
care
India?
about the Catholic crimes, huh?
Yeah, why? How? Yeah, why are you even talking about the Catholic crimes? That didn't happen in India. So why are you being such a hypocrite and talking about something that didn't happen in India? Yeah.
Well, in other
Anyway,
news, we should quickly
we just got.
celebrate the fact that uh would you say this? Danila just became a new member of our YouTube channel,
Thank
which
you
is a
so
good
much.
reminder to tell everyone that now that we are monetized again, if you become a member, we give extra special priority to your comments in the live chat, and you have access to badges that we'll be producing soon, and emojis will be coming soon as well.
Oh yeah, I should work on that.
Exclusive emojis.
Thank you for
So thank
becoming a
you.
member. Well, let me see. It became Satan's minion. Yeah, guys, if you are members, then we'll highlight your comments. It helps us to notice your comments more. um there we go. All right, can we clap for the next news?
Yes, but once again, it's not because we support it.
All right, without enthusiasm. Next news.
Next news. Indian Muslim shopkeepers banned from selling at Hindu festival. Organizers of the Kote Marikamba Batra, a celebration held every 2 years in Shivamonga, Karnataka, recently banned Muslim vendors from setting up stalls. The center of the celebration is the Marikamba Temple, a temple dedicated to the Hindu goddess Marikanda Devi. According to The Hindu, local leaders of the hardline Hindu groups BJP, Bajrang Dal, and Vishwa Hindu Parishad pressured the organizers of the festivals into making the decision. The Sugi Mari Puja, another yearly festival, has also leave because they had protested against the
Wait, go a little back.
Karnataka's.
You got cut for a second. Just a little bit
Okay.
back. Sorry.
The Sugi Mari Puja, another yearly festival, has also banned Muslims allegedly because they had protested against the Karnataka High Court's ruling that supported allowing hijabs to be banned in government schools. Quote, we agreed to their demand in the interest of a smooth conduct of the festival, a festival organizer said. Before the announcement, some Muslim shopkeepers had already paid for renting out stalls, and the sudden ban under right wing gang pressure is causing issues. Several Hindu festival committee members are unhappy with this decision, as they were forced to take this action. Chana Basappa, a leader of a local BJP group in Shivamonga, said that the banning is justified because, according to him, the local Muslim community failed to properly condemn the recent murder of a Hindutva activist.
Wait, so you want to collectively hold everybody responsible for not? Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, oh, you're all guilty of all of. Oh my god, this is your mind on collectivism, collective punishment. By the way, isn't this like they're coming to serve you food? Like, what is that? Like, why are you not happy with that? I mean, shouldn't you celebrate that? Like, they feel like they. I mean, these are Muslims who are open enough to Hindus to feel like, yeah, let's go serve them food, right? Like, shouldn't you be welcoming that? Like, oh, thank you. Isn't that like nice? Oh my god, I don't know. Is this like normal, or is this becoming a bigger deal than it used to be?
So it's definitely not normal. There are many instances in which this is actually blatantly unconstitutional. Let me pull up the exact articles of the Constitution which this violates. Oh shoot, my webpage is being crazy. So what's interesting is that one of these festivals, I believe it's the main festival that this story surrounds, is many people across faiths will participate in this festival and actually give donations or tokens to the goddess for the sake of good luck. And it's well documented and not denied by anyone, apparently, that Christians and Muslims constantly and have historically participated in this festival. Like, even these monotheistic religions in this area participate in the veneration of this deity, and also participating in, and asking for some good luck in exchange for, these little participations. So I thought that was very interesting. So it's not like there is, an opposition necessarily from these groups towards this festival. Two, I think it's very important to discuss this in the context of ongoing economic boycott of Muslim communities. This is something that is going on across the nation. This is something that has been going on for many years. And it's also something that has been explicit, saying many groups across regions will say we are explicitly boycotting business from any member of the Muslim community, simply for the fact of their Muslim faith. So they're trying to economically punish and starve off and deprive the Muslim community simply because of their faith.
And this is illegal.
And this is just another element of that.
Okay, but this is illegal based on India's law. So is there going to be any reaction to this?
I'm not sure. So, okay, let me see. In clear violation of the Indian Constitution, maxim of equality for all, Article 14, and non-discrimination to none, Article 15, under pressure from Hindutva groups, the organizers of a historic festival in Karnataka have banned Muslim shopkeepers from conducting business during it. So again, this is happening in Karnataka, which has the hijab row controversy, right? So, and then there's also, we've been talking about for months, the rise in violence against minorities in Karnataka. This has been a very steep spike in rise against violence against Christians specifically. And there's also been a huge rise in controversy over quote unquote forced conversions. I believe Karnataka was one of the states that recently put forward legislation that actually essentially criminalizes converting to a different religion, except if you're converting quote unquote back to Hinduism, where you have to report to a magistrate 30 days in advance that you're going to change your religion, and if you don't, you can be subject to prosecution and fines of potential years in jail. And also the police can get involved in special investigations into your conversion. So this is all happening in this state. And this is just the latest act of, majoritarianism and explicit harassment and pressure. And the fact that one of the organizers of the festival said, quote, "We agreed to their," meaning the Hindu hardliners, "demand in the interest of smooth conduct of the festival." That sounds like something that you would say when you're being extorted. Like, the smooth conduct of the festival. What would they do if Muslim shopkeepers were allowed to participate? Like, that gives me, my interpretation of that is that they are full aware that if they went on with the Muslim shopkeepers at this festival as they paid to participate in, then there could be violence. What do you think about that interpretation, Armin? I could be out of pocket.
Yeah, no, it's possible. I'm not sure though. The sad thing about this to me is that the best way to two of the best ways to uh, build connection between people and fight bigotry is through food and through commerce. And basically, they're stopping both of these with one go, right? Like people who have business ties with each other and trade with each other and sell and buy from each other, they're less likely to. It reduces the chances of them going against each other. And also people who eat with each other, share food with each other. Food is a good way to bring people together, right?
There's
So it's so
actually
sad.
social studies about how the power of empirically lessening prejudice through meal sharing.
Right.
It's one of the best ways to do it.
So they are like basically stopping one of the best ways to bring Muslim and Hindus together, right? I want to highlight, we have a whole bunch of comments start.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
Okay. Blank name is saying they make great vegetable food. Why ban them? Yeah,
right?
I mean, I'm sure the food. Yeah, yeah. Katie saying I've been hearing too many instances of service workers being asked their name to determine their religion, so people can decide whether they want their service or not. Wow, unbelievable! This is like 1930s Germany, like looking for Jewish names and stuff like that. Like
the
in India,
open
they're looking for
bigotry
Muslim.
is crazy.
Is there any like? There's nowhere on the planet, unlike maybe just China, that is this bad. Like India is so sad because India is supposed to be part of the secular democratic countries, right? Like when it comes to like the world of like the forces of illiberalism, right? You think like Russia and China is joining that force, right? And the forces of liberal countries, you're thinking like Western Europe, North America, and Japan and South Korea, right? You like China is like the middle. Like right now is like on the books is supposed to be like a secular democracy, and I'm hope like it's so bad that these values are being so destroyed there, because it would be such a great ally to these other countries that are fighting against the forces of tyranny right now, right? I'm hoping the anti CCP attitudes in India eventually pushes India in the direction of these other countries, pro-liberal countries, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's
Eric
tricky.
is saying, yeah. Eric is saying that's nice. That's nice, mate. But Muslims serving food to Hindus will become food jihad. Haven't you seen how Hindutva demonizes Muslims by falsely accusing them of spitting on food?
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
did stories about quote unquote spit jihad. And what's
Yes, they
really
have.
interesting is that the spit jihad thing plays into stereotypes and propaganda about Muslims being the spreaders of the big disease that's going around the world. I have to use coded language because of YouTube. And what's so interesting about that specific piece of propaganda is that it very closely mirrors Yahtzee. Okay, again, Unicode language, bad people during World War II, Yahtzee propaganda against the Jewish people as purveyors of disease and typhoid and pestilence. Like it very closely mirrors that same dehumanizing and othering propaganda from the 1930s. So it's very concerning. Katie is saying there are Muslims who are changing their names to get small jobs, but if their real names are discovered, they are harassed and accused of doing jihad by hiding their names. Oh my God, you can't win.
I don't understand this question by Aqua. Aqua is saying Muslims consider halal food only when it's made by Muslims. So why not keep them to their own people? Because that's not how it works. Because Muslims don't think that the food that they make, should be only eaten by them. They don't have to. Like, they can share it. I don't understand. Like, you're making up rules that they
Also,
don't have.
Aquamarine, people can make that decision on their own.
Yeah, you don't have to make
People
that decision.
organizing to deny them the ability to provide service is discrimination, a-hole.
Yeah. Also, James is saying, and what do Muslims say about Hindus in a mostly Muslim-dominated country? James, what does this got to
Whataboutism.
do with? Yeah, this is whataboutism. What does this got to do with with these Muslims who are being denied the service? This is again, people who think collectively about large groups of people are so enabled to judge people on an individual basis. Like, I don't think, like, no matter how much you explain to them, sometimes it's just for them, it just doesn't compute. They just look at people as an entire group of people as a collective. They can never just, like, go one by one. It's like they seem to be incapable of doing that. It's unbelievable.
It's something that I really take for granted. It's just by like explaining, like, hey, that's about a group, not about a person. Like that would be understood. Like, no, it's
We're
not.
treating these people like shit over here because those other people over there would treat us like crap. Treat those other people like crap over there. Like, but those are those people over there, and these are other people
That
over
doesn't make it
here.
okay.
That's like what is that? Okay, like what? How is this related? It's almost been like, I don't know. I'm gonna, I don't know, do this to you because that person did that to that other person. Okay, makes absolute sense. Sure, James, you're insane. You're insane.
Katie has
Oh,
two other good points, saying, some of my friends who discovered some names by chance had the Muslim service providers beg them to not reveal them to anyone because they fear losing their job. It's heartbreaking.
unbelievable.
That shows you like how bad the social situation is. Like the lengths that
Yeah.
people will go to hide their own name, like simply their name. It really reminds me of, like Jewish immigrants coming to America and changing their whole names because, they didn't want to face discrimination for having Cohen as their last name or something. It's tough.
Okay. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. Next news.
Next news. U.S. judge rules against Christian clerk who denied gay marriage licenses. On March 18th, On March 18th, David Booney, a U.S. district judge for the Eastern District of Kentucky, ruled against a Christian county clerk, Kim Davis, who was charged with violating the rights of same-sex couples. Here's the background. In 2015, despite the U.S. Supreme Court's historic ruling that federally legalized same-sex marriage, Davis continued to deny same-sex couples marriage licenses. She announced, a day after the landmark Obergefell versus Hodges ruling, that her office would no longer issue marriage licenses. According to the announcement, Judge Booney issued a preliminary injunction ordering Davis in her office to resume issuing marriage licenses. Davis declined to follow the order and was sent to jail. She was released a couple of days later. Davis argued that issuing marriage licenses to such couples is against her religious beliefs. She said, quote, that she could not give them a marriage license under God's authority, NPR reported. David Ermold, one of the men who was denied a marriage license by Davis, expressed his relief on Twitter, stating, quote, after 7 years, Judge Booney finally ruled that Kim Davis intentionally violated our constitutional rights. Now the question is, will they hold her financially responsible for the insensitive and irrational legal mess that she created? Liberty Counsel, the Christian legal organization representing Davis, pointed out that former Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin's executive order that allowed county clerks to, quote, to not to issue marriage licenses that conflict with their religious beliefs. Matt Staver, founder and chairman of the Liberty Council, said that Davis's case raises, quote, serious First Amendment concerns.
Wait, did she mention anything about God's law versus U.S. law? Did you mention that?
Yeah, she said that she could, quote, not give them marriage licenses under God's authority.
Okay, but secularity has a good comeback to that.
Secularity is saying, cool, don't worry, God has no authority under U.S. law.
Like, you have no power. You have no power here. This was a long time ago. Why does it take so long to come up with decisions like this?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of complications to this case, partially because the local governor at the time gave her pardons for her behavior. In past executive orders, like after she took this action, that would allow clerks to continue to deny marriage licenses on the basis of their religious freedom, their deeply held beliefs. And so that complicated matters. But finally, that's partially why I wanted to cover this story, because this is a very, very famous case in the United States, and we've now reached this point of conclusion.
If you don't know much about the law, it just seems like these things should be a lot more simple. This is the law. You did this. Okay. Like, okay, you violated the law. Oh, you didn't violate the law. Like how much computing power do you need to be able to calculate this? Like, why, like 7 years? Like, I don't understand. Like, why is this should be a lot more simple. Like, I don't know why. But okay, I guess it took 7 years. This is what your taxpayer money is being spent on.
So one thing that's going to happen is that now an aspect of the legal battle is still going to continue, and it's going to be over who's going to be paying for all of these legal proceedings. Is it going to be Kim? Is she going to be held liable? Will it be the Commonwealth of Kentucky? Will it be the county? AKA, will the Kentucky's taxpayer have to pay for this? Which will be hundreds of thousands of legal fees over 7 years of proceedings.
Unbelievable.
Misha is saying, sad that such things take so long. Yeah, what's interesting is that aspects of this case or the story went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And so now there's the potential for this aspect of the case regarding the liability for paying the fees to actually be litigated all the way up to the Supreme Court. So parts of this battle are not over. One thing I wanted to say is that, she drew a lot of support from the Christian conservative right when this happened. She announced that she was going to do this the day after, this federal ruling. And it makes me so upset because, so there were a number of couples who were involved in this case. Two couples specifically. So Armin and now husband David Moore were denied marriage licenses 3 times. And another couple, James Yates and Will Smith, not the actor, were denied licenses 4 times. A deputy clerk finally approved their licenses while Davis spent 5 days in jail for contempt of court. So they weren't even allowed to just get their marriage approved, which they were constitutionally guaranteed to have the right to be able to do until she was in jail. Both couples said the ordeal caused mental anguish and emotional harm, among other issues. Imagine trying so many times just to get your marriage approved. It's crazy.
I hope they make her pay for all of this because, yeah, like imagine like being such a cause of headache for so many people, We do have to highlight this one and one other comment.
Misha is saying she probably assumes she was persecuted. I mean, a lot of her public statements definitely lend to that idea.
I mean, Christians love that. You could the mildest things towards Christian, many Christian, not all Christians, they would assume. I mean, a lot of Christians need persecution because that's how they know they're in the right, right? If they're not persecuted, then like we're like not on the right side of history, right? So they want
It's
to be.
actually God's signal that you're doing his
Yeah.
work, that the world comes against you because they cannot stand the light of God's message of
Wow, that was.
homophobia.
Again, not all Christians. Okay, just want to be fair. Okay, so Eric what is.
Eric Olson is saying, wouldn't accepting LGBT folks actually help Christianity in the West? How would homophobia help their religion? Well, this is a very progressive idea of which Christianity should be. And Eric, I know that before you became an atheist, partially because of Atheist Republic, you were a very progressive LGBT supporting Christian. So I understand where you're coming from, but these are people who are much more fundamentalist than you seem to be. And this is a central hill that they are willing to stand on and fight for. It's not, they see it very differently. Like, if they're not trying to help Christianity's public image in the West, like, to them, standing on this topic in what they believe is true to their faith, that is helping their faith, showing people true Christianity and the depravity of the West, etc. Like, that is what helps Christianity, not curtailing their message for the sake of popularity or cultural expediency. That would actually be very like heretical to them in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, like Susanna said, like, first of all, this is God's, religion. So, and Jesus is all powerful. So Christianity will come, they will win at the end. This is more about you making sure that you're on the right side, because, God will do his will in their mind, and there's no, they will be victorious. Christ will be victorious at the end. That's their understanding. Okay. So another way to look at it is like, they are actually, some of these people think like they are actually pro LGBT, but not they're sinning. They're pro the sinner. They love the sinner, but not the sin, right? So they think like we care for. In fact, they think like maybe they care more about LGBT than we do, because they care for them, so they want to try to make them stop sinning. You know what I mean? Like, they think like people who like us, who are say that we're pro LGBT, we're actually doing LGBT people a disservice, because we're encouraging them to live a life of sin and all of that, and we're basically making them go farther and further away from God, right? So they might think like they're actually the people who love these people most, or truly, and even though they're sinners, they would still love them, but they are not. Just because they love them, that doesn't mean that they're going to accept their sinning, or encourage, or be a vehicle for their sinning, right? They're like, they might tell us that you're misunderstanding us being against their sin as us being against them as individuals, or being against them as people. We're not. We actually
love them so much that we have to tell them that their actions are going to send them to eternal torment. Like, what is more loving than trying to stop that? Exactly. And Eric is saying, yes, I know they're fundamentalists. That's not why I left, but I felt and feel more at home with humanists and atheists. I'm not interested in quote unquote true Christianity. Well, that's something we share in common.
Well, thank you for that. Cool. All right. So let me unshare the screen. Do you want to highlight anything else while I get the next news?
No, I think that's a good way to close that story.
Okay, so this one we can't clap. The next one we're not going to clap. Okay. All right. Next news.
Okay, next news. Are you going to bring it up?
Yes.
Okay, next news. Atheist Republic mourns the loss of leaders Sylvia Gerger and Terme Nashvan. Atheist Republic is saddened by the recent passing of two important leaders within the international atheist community, Sylvia Gerger and Terme Nashvan. Terme Nashvan was the co-host and organizer of the Atheist Republic Persian YouTube channel, a subversive political activist, a passionate LGBT rights activist, and an atheist. Almost 4 years ago, along with Sam Jerami, she proposed to Atheist Republic's founder, Armin Navabi, to form a section of the organization dedicated to providing content and community to Persian speakers. The Persian wing of Atheist Republic has since become a thriving and influential community with a large following. Gossam, a moderator on the Atheist Republic Persian YouTube channel, said, quote, Terme helped to enlighten the Persian-speaking community by helping to set up the Persian section of Atheist Republic. Personally, I owe it to her for the great changes that have been made to my beliefs and values with this YouTube channel. May her memory live on. Sylvia Gerger was the consulate administrator and founder of the Atheist Republic Vienna consulate. Sylvia had a particular interest in the cause of assisting ex-Muslims, and the Atheist Republic Vienna consulate became a meeting place for many ex-Muslims who had fled to Vienna from abroad in pursuit of freedom and safety. Sylvia was also the founder of Atheist Refugees Austria, which offered specialized asylum services and consultations that were tailored to address the specific needs of atheist refugees, a very underserved group. She was known for her passion for fighting for the LGBT community and persecuted freethinkers, and could frequently be seen at weekly vigils in support of Saudi liberal blogger Raif Badawi. Members of the Atheist Republic Vienna consulate expressed their grief in reaction to this unfortunate news and shared memories of how they felt like Sylvia was like a mother to them.
Yeah, I wish more of you knew about both of them. Terme was really dedicated to her activism. She cared so much about people, so much. She sacrificed so much for everybody else. The only thing is that she didn't care much about herself. She was. So I don't know how to say this without getting punished by YouTube, but she was responsible for her own death. She took, I think it's okay to say, she took her own life. She was very isolated. She was, as an atheist and also a lesbian, she was not only, her family turned against her, but I also, as she was my co-host on the Persian channel for a long time, and she was under constant attack and abuse for being a lesbian, and insults. And during the show she always put up a strong face, but then personally by herself, like, she was like very much affected all the time by all of it. This is like one reason why it's very important for us to make it normalize both LGBT and atheism, right? Like, I don't know if you understand how much Terma went through. Like, she came from a very conservative family, and she really believed in what she was doing. She was trained to be a religious educator, like in Qom, in a religious school, and she became full-on atheist, and she became so passionate about her activism and fighting religious dogma, and also promoting enlightenment values, pro LGBT democracy, secularism. She was very passionate about this, but she was so dedicated to all of this. She didn't spend much time about her own personal life, and it was very hard for her to, because of all the things she's experienced and all the backlash and all the people that were so personally against her, in such vile and disgusting ways they came after her. It was very hard for her to trust people, to get close to people, because she got hurt. She got burned so many times when it comes to getting close to people and people who turned against her, that she had a hard time, getting close to most people because of that. So she just focused on her activism. But eventually the isolation became so much, I guess she couldn't take it anymore. She's so nice. She was so caring. She really wanted to. She was so dedicated to maybe, helping Iran one day become liberated from the mullahs. sometimes I could see, like, sometimes I felt like the chances for that happening in our lifetime was very low, and every time I said that, I could see how disappointed she was in what I was saying, and she was like, because she was so invested in making that happen, or seeing that happen one day, if during, I think, like, eventually when she gave up hope, I think she didn't have much more to look forward to. So I don't know what happened.
I
Yeah,
think it'd be also important to recognize how she played a very major role in Atheist Republic's international protest and organizing in support of Iranian atheist prisoner Sohail Arabi. And
yeah,
in fact, if you go on Sohail Arabi's Wikipedia page, there's a video of her that's featured there that talks about the campaign and talks about what he goes through. And Babak, on one of his Babak, for those who don't know, is a co-host of the Atheist Republic Persian YouTube channel, made a post about her and said, I'm sure the day that Sohail was released from prison must have been one of the happiest days of her life, because this was a case that she was so invested in. I also wanted to read something that Sarkar Mahmoud sent me about Sylvia Gerger. So Sarkar is another one of the admins of the Atheist Republic Vienna consulate, and wanted me to share some of his memories of Sylvia and what they did together in the Vienna consulate. Saying, I met Sylvia online a number of years ago when the Atheist Republic Vienna consulate was just founded, and AR was looking for some people to coordinate it. We met on a Friday morning in a weekly protest demonstration for the freedom of Raif Badawi. I think she took part in the Free Badawi event many times before we met, as she was already a well-known face among the regular demonstrators, and she did take part many times after I met her. I like many others, was excited about the new consulate. Despite this, I doubt if anyone took it as seriously as Sylvia did. She had frequent discussions with me about what we could do next to promote our consulate events. Besides, concerned about the fate of women in the Muslim world and the situation and risks that ex-Muslims face. Sylvia said that we are going to print out special visiting cards for the Atheist Republic Vienna consulate. I love the idea, and we designed the card as she wanted and printed them on special template papers that she bought for it. As an enthusiastic coordinator, she distributed AR cards amongst participants at many events during the following months to increase the awareness of Atheist Republic Vienna. I think because of her awareness campaign, our meetup participation numbers before, the big disease that's going around, got larger and larger. At one point, Sylvia wanted to do something more productive and decided to set up Atheist Refugees Relief for Vienna. And then talked about how she was coordinating this with many other organizations. I was just the helping hand with technical support and other things. Actually, Sylvia was really pushing us forward and keeping us active. She paid for the printing and handing out of free Sohail colorful leaflets, flyers, posters during the free Sohail event organized by AR. Punctually organized each and every meeting and called me to confirm the dates and online links. With her death, I have lost a friend with whom I could easily call and discuss any issue whenever I wanted, whenever something happened in Bangladesh or Pakistan or any other parts of the world, or any topic like euthanasia or circumcision. I never felt that, she had children almost my age and that our exchange of ideas had any age gap in it. Oh, and Sylvia ordered Atheist Republic branded t-shirts for a number of Atheist Republic members, including myself. She will remain as an unforgettable part of my memory as long as I live. So on
Sylvia passed away on Atheist Day.
Yes.
Yeah. But go on, sorry.
Yeah, from people have said from complications of a major surgery, which is really important. So on our webpage that I put up in memoriam for these two amazing members of our community, there's a lot of people who are really struggling with the loss of these people who they were close to and really considered, inspirations and really important people in their life. So at the bottom of this article, I included resources if you're struggling with the loss of Sylvia or Terme or any other loved one. I provided links to the Grief Resource Network, which has provided a massive list of resources and hotline that can help you navigate your feelings of distress or just your emotions with this kind of event. Because I think it is important to know, that this is very tragic and it is really hit a lot of people in our community hard, but that doesn't mean that you're alone. And a lot of other people, are also struggling with it, and that there's a lot of people that you can talk to. And I also said in this article that, the energy and passion that they committed to the cause of protecting atheists, as well as the LGBT community, seemed endless. Their commitment to promoting free thought and civil freedoms inspired many to respond to their call to action and get involved. I hope that the memory of their lives and their activism will inspire people to honor their legacies by continuing the work that they loved so much. So, yeah, this is, really difficult for a lot of people, but the best way that we can remember them is by, taking up the mantle of what they started.
No, that's perfectly said.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, Susanna.
Yeah. You have some comments that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, AJ saying, I regret not knowing. Hold on, let me actually bring this back. I regret not knowing her. She sounds like an amazing woman. Yeah, they both did. King is saying, I didn't know her, but yeah, sad. Eric saying, what has happened with Sohail Arabi? We pledged to not rest till he got out of Iran. Well, he's out of jail, but he's not out of Iran, right?
He's on internal exile, and it's very precarious, and so we kind of have to keep things a little, you have to be careful to make sure that he's not sent back to prison.
But Sohail Arabi had like a live stream from Iran with Mariam Namazi on Atheist Day, didn't she? Like while he's still in Iran, which is like incredibly brave, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Secular Sakai is saying, in memory, a super chat, $20 super chat, and the comment is, in memory of those we have lost with a flower. Thank you so much, Secular Sakai. And
That's
Puya
very
is
kind.
saying,
Thank you.
Yeah, you want to read this one?
Puya is saying, we had a live stream last night with Babak and other members of the Atheist Republic Persian community. Remember Terme. I just wish she knew the effect she had on mine and so many other people's lives.
No. And Secular Rarity saying, I wish I could have met them. They sound like incredible people. This sucks. Yeah. And here's the last comment before we go to the next.
Eric is saying, we atheists need to form closer bonds and more tight-knit communities beyond borders. That's the only way we can help for now. I agree. Particularly for a lot of people who are living in exile, because, either they voluntarily or were forced to leave where they come from because of their views or their politics. People underestimate how much they struggle. Like Terme had been living outside of Iran for a number of years. Because, we kind of take for granted. It's like, oh, you're in a new country, you're safe now. But it's not that easy. You leave behind so much. You leave behind so many connections and so much support. And, it's the mental effects that exile can have on people is very difficult and shouldn't be underestimated. And so it's important to, be close to each other and check up on each other and tell each other what we appreciate and love and admire about each other while we still can. So.
Yeah, that's exactly. Okay, so while Susanna is away, I'm just going to read this comment. Eric saying, when Christians, Muslims, Jews, and even Hindus can form strong bonds, what stops atheists? Yeah. The problem is a lot of atheists think like as soon as we get together, like, oh my God, this is now a religion, which is insane because they're basically saying only religious people have a monopoly over creating communities, which is like, great job. Just give that to religious people as well. Fantastic.
Which is
People are sending
exactly
you
what Atheist Republic seeks to address.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, people are sending you hugs and kisses and supporters. So, all right, thank you so much for that, Susanna. I don't know how to go to the next news after this.
No, thank you for sharing your memories of Terme as well.
No. Yeah. Oh wait, I should have shared a video of her. Can I share a video of her? It's right here. Okay. So what is she? What is his video of her about?
This is a video that she made for Sohail Arabi.
Oh, okay. So this is a video of Terme in support of Sohail Arabi.
یک نفر به خاطر انتشار یک پست در فیسبوک در حال جان دادن است. سهیل عربی در سال 1392 به جرم نقد اسلام و انتقاد از شیوه حکومت.
I'm not going to play all of it because you don't understand it, but basically this is her talking about Sohail Arabi and why it's important, trying to bring attention to the fact that Sohail Arabi is in prison and the fact what we need to do about it. This is yeah. So Sohail Arabi, I wonder if anyways. All right. Okay. All right. So next news. Should we just go to the next news?
Yes. Next news. I messed it up. Wow. Dyslexia. Okay. Next news. Indian court compares Atheist Republic to Trump. So there's a lot to get into here. Atheist Republic ongoing legal battle over quote-unquote blasphemous tweets recently made headlines in India. In the latest chapter of the saga, on March 28th, the Delhi High Court asked Twitter why it had not banned accounts that posted objectionable content against a Hindu goddess. This referred to a complaint filed last year against Twitter, in which targeted several posts by Atheist Republic that contained quote-unquote hurtful images of the Hindu goddess Kali. In the latest hearing, the petitioner also further sought to ban Atheist Republic's Twitter account in total. Both judges remarked that the issue is about how people feel about sensitive content. Quote, if these kinds of things were done in relation to any other religion, we would be much more careful, more sensitive, the judges said. Siddharth Luthra, Twitter's senior counsel who appeared during the hearings, explained that Twitter, quote, can't block any individual. Twitter cannot take down content without a court order, Luthra added. Quote, if this is the logic, then why have you blocked Mr. Trump, the court countered. The court also challenged Twitter to present their policy behind Trump's suspension from Twitter, claiming that they should have done the same thing with Atheist Republic. On the same day, Atheist Republic received an email from Twitter Legal, which stated, quote, a court order from the High Court of Delhi at New Delhi.
Hey, can you repeat that last part? You got cut for a second. Just a little bit. Okay.
On the same day, Atheist Republic received an email from Twitter Legal, which stated, quote, Twitter has received a court order from the High Court of Delhi at New Delhi regarding your Twitter account at Atheist Republic that claims that certain content violates the laws of India. Importantly, the email noted that in order to comply with Twitter's obligations under India's local laws, we had withheld this content in India. The content remains available elsewhere. Atheist Republic's lawyers intervened and argued that the petitioner's original wish to have the offending tweets removed have been fulfilled, as they are now blocked to Indian users, so the court should not go forward with banning the Twitter account in total. They also argued that Atheist Republic must be made a party to the proceedings if the coercive action is taken against the organization, and that any blocking by either Twitter or the government of India should not occur until Atheist Republic has been heard in court. Their submissions were taken into account and the intervention was allowed. The court also ordered Atheist Republic to submit an affidavit within 2 weeks discussing its status, location, and presence of any place of business and authorized representatives in India. The matter will be heard in court again on September 6th, 2022. And this is a good reminder, you guys, that amidst all of this chaos, that we have a fundraiser to help us cover the cost of our ongoing legal fees, because this is just the latest saga. we have to compensate our lawyers for all the appearances they make in court for us, the way that they intervene, all the documents that they have to prepare for these affidavits, the filing fees, the time they spend researching for, all this documentation that they have to provide to the court, the meetings that I conduct with them. These are not inexpensive services, right? So we have a GoFundMe. The link is in the description. And if you are able to contribute to our fundraiser for our legal expenses, it does help our organization a lot, because this intervention in court was a major step in our legal battle in India, and it has turned up the heat in a way. And things are only going to be, proceeding with much more importance and much more depth and expense from moving forward.
Oh, look, we just got another donation about 2 hours ago. I think that was Secular Sakai.
Amazing.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for all the people who have donated to this. It's very helpful. But yeah, this is insane. So, by the way, just so we will update you next week, our Twitter got suspended. We will give you more updates about. It's a Twitter account with more hundreds of thousands of followers, and they suspended it over the court because of what they could deem insulting to Hindu goddesses, right? So
presumably. Okay, here's the deal. We got suspended on Twitter. We have received no written notification from Twitter. We have received no email detailing what aspect of their terms of service or community guidelines that we have violated. This is the exact same thing that happened when my personal account got banned. I was just working on Twitter and I was about to interact with a tweet. And when you try to interact with a tweet, you suddenly get a pop-up that says that your account is suspended. I was like, what the heck? That's how we found out. And again, no written explanation. So it is likely because of these court proceedings. We don't know for sure yet. I've submitted an appeal, and the appeal was already rejected, saying that it was because we violated Twitter rules. Again, not detailing a single rule that we violated.
Right.
So
Twitter is enforcing religious rules, and again, not Islamic rules. Like Twitter is defending Hinduism. Like we violated none of Twitter's rules. This is a court pressuring Twitter to remove our account because of Hindu goddesses. Like a lot of people assume like Muslims are the Muslim community has the highest amount of snowflakes, but like we have never had to deal with anything like this from the Muslim community. Like we've never had any, like this is insane. We have a country, we have this is this is not like a local court, this is like the high court in the Delhi High Court. Okay, that like it's getting, and also our case have been brought up in India's Supreme Court, like the highest court in India. Like this is insane over some pictures of goddesses, like that are not even nude. Like they weren't even like they weren't like, I don't understand. They have it's ridiculous. The entire country's the entire judicial system of India should be mocked, and Twitter should be mocked. Like Twitter is taking the side of far-right nationalists in enforcing blasphemy laws. This is and they're giving into them. Like guys, like this needs to become a lot bigger news. Like if this is the standard, then many other Twitter accounts should be banned because of Charlie Hebdo is not banned. Charlie Hebdo has cartoons against Islam. Why is our account banned for having cartoons about Hinduism, and Charlie Hebdo, like, why is it that there's a huge amount of Hindu privilege where, if Charlie Hebdo's Twitter account was banned, the world would be outraged. But our account is banned over like having tweets about Hinduism, and there's no reaction. Like, by the way, guys, if you know any journalists that would be interested in covering the step-by-step of what happened and bringing more attention to this, please have them get in touch with Susanna. Susanna, can you put your email in the live chat so for any journalists that might be interested in covering the story and getting any statements from Susanna, or if they want to us to explain how everything happened with all the documents and all the evidence for it, because the backlash. By the way, Ibn Qiyam in the live chat was, this is Susanna's email. So Susanna at atheistrepublic.com. Please email Susanna with any if you know a journalist that we should reach out to, or if you are a journalist yourself that would like to cover the story. Like, we have the highest courts in India getting involved in removing accounts on Twitter simply because of things that are for defending Hinduism in a secular democratic country. This needs to get, and Twitter bending the knee and accepting, blasphemy laws, enforcing blasphemy laws, even though not only it's not just our claim that we didn't violate any community guidelines. Twitter itself is not telling us that there's no interaction about what tweets of ours has been violating. Like, they didn't even message us about what do we put there that was against their community guidelines. There's no transparency. There's no mention of what tweets. It's just, your account is suspended. So you want to read this comment?
Yeah, so Mingayim, I cannot pronounce the cues for the life of me, is saying the fact that this matter has gone to court and the court is taking this seriously and allowing the proceedings to continue is embarrassing. I think you mean speaking to this whole issue of religious sensitivity and religious offense. Like, from our perspective and from our rule of law, like, it is ridiculous. It is something that the state should not be involved in. Now, I want to include a statement that I wrote when I heard about this news, because I have a lot to say. So I included this in the news article where we did the full write-up on this court hearing. Link is in the description of this stream if you want to read like a full detailing of what went down. But here's the statement that I wrote. The judge's comment that, quote, if these kinds of things were done in relation to another religion, you'd be much more careful, more sensitive, is laughably false. I interpret this statement to be referring by implication to the religion of Islam, the sensitive nature of blasphemy in that faith, and the risk of violent reaction. This statement implies that we are singling out Hinduism for abuse and that we are biased in what faiths we blaspheme. This statement could not be further from the truth, and in fact demonstrates the pro-Hinduism bias of this judge. If this statement is directed towards Atheist Republic, our organization has been blaspheming against Islam for much longer and in much more quote-unquote harsh forms than our blasphemy against Hinduism, including burning and publicly desecrating the Quran as a protest and support of freedom of expression. In fact, one of the posts that they ordered to be blocked itself contains an image of Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad kissing on top of a rainbow Kaaba. So the statement that, you'd be much more careful if it was another faith is literally contained within the post that they want removed. Okay. 2. If this statement is directed towards Twitter, Twitter has consistently allowed blasphemous portrayals of the Prophet Muhammad, including allowing the posting of the notorious Charlie Hebdo cartoons that have resulted in the actual loss of human life. If Twitter did not allow such content on their site, Atheist Republic would ourselves condemn them for such bias. Most importantly, it should be noted that the images that have literally resulted in the death of humans is still publicly available on Twitter. The blasphemous content from Atheist Republic that was so offensive to the petitioners has led to exactly 0 physical harm to any person.
It's unbelievable how ridiculous these lawyers are when they're like attacking us they're saying Twitter, if this was about Islam, we would take it more seriously. Like, have you seen our account? We obviously have posts against Islam, and also majority is against Islam and Christianity and other religions. And the sample that you're showing the court has the tweet about Muhammad and Jesus. Like, look at your own example. Like, if this was about Islam, you would take it seriously. Like, are you out of your mind? Like, have you seen Twitter? Okay. Anyways, guys, like, we need to fight this. No matter what happens, no matter what results comes out of this, we can't just take this like lying back. Like, we have to stand up to this, okay? Even if it's not for the sake of our Twitter account, which doesn't seem to be able to come back, for us to be able to not make this okay for like having a court order just push like, oh, we don't like this, here's a court order, okay, Twitter like, oh, it's a court order, okay, let's remove this Twitter account. Is it that easy? So India basically now, because India's courts are so sensitive and they're accepting all these snowflakes as court cases against anything they might find offensive, and because Twitter just accepts any court order, then India is now going to become the source of courts just taking out Twitter accounts that they don't like, if it's that easy. So help us take a stand against this. Like, help us make this not okay. Like our legal fund, like, guys, we have so far we got $3,800, and with this little money we have done so much because we have lawyers in India that are doing this job for us. And look how small our legal fund is compared to other people's legal fund, and we have managed to make every dollar do a lot of work with, even though it's a small legal fund. Okay, so we're right now, even though we're not in India, we're standing up. Like, us little atheist, tiny little atheist republic is now the only organization that is between like court orders filing blasphemy laws for a company that is not even in India, and Twitter, like, it's an American company and is abiding by Indian blasphemy laws, and we are the company in the middle of this with only less than $4,000 against the largest political party in the world, which is the BJP, which is a Hindutva nationalist far right government that is apparently dictating what social media companies are supposed to do. Okay, so this $4,000 has been the only weapon that we have had against this force that is coming at us. So if you can, please donate to this GoFundMe. Link is in the description. Give us more ammunition to be able to resist this. Link is in the description.
Yes. Final thing I wanted to add is that I'm going to be meeting with our lawyers in the next few days. So I'll be coming back to you guys with more information about how we're going to proceed, how we're going to respond, to what extent we can attribute our account being so, coincidentally suspended to this court hearing, and what we're going to do to fight it. And we will next week, we'll also be really diving into our Twitter suspension in more depth and what we can do. In the meantime, what you can do to help us with our Twitter suspension is tweet to support Atheist Republic. So I put a sample tweet in the live chat saying, and this is very important, when you tweet at Twitter support, you have to put a period before the at, because otherwise other people won't see it. So that's very important. So period at Twitter support, the user at Atheist Republic has been suspended without any written notice of which policies the account supposedly violated. Please correct this. Or you can come up with your own tweet. But please, when you are tweeting at Twitter support, be very polite to them about our suspension, because we would like to have goodwill towards getting our account back. But like I said, I will be giving you guys a lot more information about this next week after I've had the latest meeting with our legal.
Can you post this as a comment once the stream is over and pin it to the top as well?
I was going to put it in the description as well.
Okay, and as a comment as well.
Queer Indian Atheist is already saying that they tweeted to support AR. So thank you.
Thank
Queer
you
Indian
so much,
Atheist.
Queer Indian Atheist. Oh, by the way, go subscribe to Queer Indian Atheist YouTube channel.
Yes, also them. Great people.
I have to go. I'm 10 minutes late.
Yes. Okay. But there's a lot to pack in. So guys, make sure to like this video if you stayed this long. Subscribe to the channel, because next week there's so much more about this court situation that we need to cover. So make sure to tune in next week, and we will see you guys soon.
All right, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for your
Bye.
support. Make sure you like and share the video. Thank you. Bye.